What is up, everyone? Welcome back to our episode of the Severed Floor. This is our 202nd live stream, and we are going to be talking about the season finale of season 2 of Severance here. We have the Severed Floor crew right here. We're going to say hi to everyone before we get started. What is going on? We're going to start with D first. D, how are you? And we'll go down the line.
I'm good. How are you guys doing? It's a beautiful start to the week. It's Monday. We got the Monday blues, but we will counteract that with a dose of vitamin Severance. So let's go. I know that was so corny. It was the corniest thing ever. Yeah, I want my day job.
Shane had to mute. That's how much he's laughing right there. How you doing, Shane?
I love that. I thought that was hilarious. Vitamin Severance. We gotta get some shirts made up. I love that.
I need a little severance in my life.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, this is great. I mean, I love being here and talking with my friends and talking about this show, but also it's incredibly sad because now we got to wait for season 3. But let's dig into it.
Let's dig into it. And Biggest Bro, how you doing, brother?
I'm ready for my waffle party, baby. Let's go. Oh, man. What glorious did we get? I saw somebody call it Mitchella. Mitchella. Like, it's amazing. They said they put him with Beyonce doing the whole marching band. It was hilarious. Like, awesomeness. What a weird episode, but still so good. Yeah. Such a weird episode. Lots of weird things happening, but overall, very happy with this finale. I was very happy.
Yeah, who'd have thought that you'd see a marching band come out of nowhere, out of the depths of the offices right there? That just kind of blew me away right there. But you know what? You can't be surprised with Lumen, if you know what I mean, right? It's kind of crazy right there. But guys, this is so awesome. So glad to have you guys here. This is the season 2 finale of Severance that we're going to be talking about. It's been a crazy one at that. There's been a lot of twists, turns, and some heartbreaks in between. But before we get started, guys, thank you for joining us, whoever's watching right now. We decided to start early instead of a little bit later. That's mainly on myself. If I had an innie, I would tell them to crack the whip and move a little quicker. But we're here and we're going to start getting at this. I know it's a bad joke. But anyways.
We're just full of bad jokes today.
We're just full of bad jokes today. Yeah, we need to get back to heat. We need to get my innie in here. I think my Audi's just lame. But let's get with what's going on, guys. So Severance Season 2 finale titled Cold Harbor. It centers around Mark Scout as his innie and Audi selves collaborate to rescue his wife, Gemma, from the Lumen testing floor. After a tense mission, innie Mark succeeds in freeing Gemma, but makes a shocking choice. Instead of leaving with her, he stays inside Lumen and runs off with Helly, leaving Gemma stranded outside. The episode reveals chilling details about Lumen's experiments, including Gemma's multiple severances and the sacrificial role of goats, while setting up new mysteries and emotional stakes for this season. And there has been some key events on this. I'm going to go through that before we start the breakdown, guys. And so some of the key events that we noticed in this season finale is Mark's dual struggle. In the opening of the episode, we see innie Mark and Audi Mark communicating via camcorder at the Demona birthing retreat. And that kind of goes through some really awesome acting, in my opinion, and also camera work. I don't know if you can say that, Shane, but I really enjoyed the scene with them like interacting with that type of like I want to say it was like a very low-tech type of way of communicating. So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know why they didn't use their cell phones. But then there was also the MDR revelation that Harmony told Mark that all those numbers he's been doing is basically Gemma's consciousness. And I believe she had 25, if I'm not mistaken. So that's part of the key events right there. Also, the goats and the rituals. The mysterious goats are explained as part of Lumen's cult-like rituals. As you can see, what's that lady's name? Gwendolyn Christie? As she prepares one of the goats, the baby goats, for a sacrifice. And I believe the goat's name, I remember the goat's name. Started with an E. Anyways, that doesn't matter. But we found out about that. And then also the rescue mission where Any Mark, with Helly's encouragement, completes the Cold Harbor file and navigates to the testing floor to go find Gemma, ending with the heartbreak choice of Any Mark deciding to choose Helly over Gemma. And you see them running into the hallways of Lumen. They're probably dead meat, but you know, it is what it is, guys. That is what's happening today. We're going to break down all of that. Anything that you guys want to discuss before we start this? How'd you guys like the episode? How you guys feeling? Have you guys decompressed since Thursday? We'll start with you, Shane.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've definitely decompressed. There's so much to digest. I mean, it was like a feature film. You know, it was about an hour and 20 minutes. I mean, there's so much that we learn, and so much brilliance in this particular episode. You were talking about the way that they intercut between Innie and Audi Mark. That sequence was just brilliant, and the you know, from an editing standpoint, the pacing of it and how it increased the cutting as the conversation got more tense, and the way that they lit you know, Any Mark with the fireplace and Audi Mark with the cold outside, to be able to not just show them both from a color standpoint and from you know, is Mark outside being cold towards Any Mark because he just wants what he wants. He wants his wife.
Yes.
He doesn't really care about Any Mark very much, and you know, he's trying to manipulate him. And the fact that Any Mark is still childlike, but knows enough to know when he's being manipulated, because in a corporate environment that happens on a regular, and he probably underestimates how intelligent Any Mark is. And the fire that's brewing up inside of Any Mark as he's, you know, getting more and more agitated. And there was a breakdown that I watched about the trigger point for him, both Any Mark and Audi Mark is the trigger point is mispronouncing somebody they care about. On Audi Mark, it was at the diner when Helena mispronounces his wife's name. On the Any Mark, it's when he mispronounces Helly's name. And both of those are the trigger points that are like, well, this conversation's over. And so it's interesting that they both share that personality trait. Yeah, there's so much for us to dig into. So
you said my girl's name wrong, fool.
That's right. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Big Bro.
Yeah, that scene between the Mark and Mark, I can't wait to break that down. But what a great master class of, I like, still like just the subtleness in the face changes that he does in order to portray which one he is. And then that shot where at one point they're both sitting in the chair and it looks like they are having the conversation with each other, passing the camera back and forth, is just was really good. And I think this whole episode was just about, would you care? Would you care that everything, like, as long as you get yours, do you really care? And do you have empathy? Do you understand why somebody would make these choices? Yeah, can't wait to break all this down. This is a great episode for me. Great episode.
D?
Yeah, that was a great scene. I like the way that, they paneled back and forth between the two Marks, and what Shane also said, where, you know, when one was outside, it was, you know, cold outside, and then the inside person was nice and warm, different perspectives. And I do like the way that he played his characters really well when he's trying to convince Any Mark, and he starts off, you know, really nicely about it, and then the more that Any Mark is like, well, you know, he doesn't just take it like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do that for you. Like, he's essentially like a stranger, right? But the more like he's questioning Audi Mark, then Audi Mark starts getting like agitated, like, come on, just say yes, like, you know, it's not gonna hurt you, kind of thing. Sorry,
guys.
You know, trying to persuade him. And I like how, like you were saying, his facial expressions change. Like, he's tried being nice to try and, you know, manipulate him, and it's not working. So, okay, you know what? But I'm tired of being nice. You know, just do it. Just do the thing. It's not gonna kill you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like the way that he portrays both characters so well.
Yeah.
I agree. And you know what's so interesting is they thought it was going to be a coffee and cake run with this whole, yeah,
Yep.
just say your piece and then come meet us downstairs, right? With Cobell and the sister. They're like, yeah, it's going to be easy, piece of cake. But what I love about that scene, and we'll break it down, is not only, and I'm not a filmmaker, but when I watch like certain, when they use a device to do a communication and they use a camcorder, because I grew up in the age of camcorders, I just really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And I liked how they thought this was going to be super easy. We're going to convince the innie. And then you find out things about the innie. The innie's literally trying to tell his outie, yo, wait, hold on. This is my existence. This is all I have. And you're essentially telling me to end all of that.
Yeah.
And even though, yes, you know, you're the one that created me, you know, I've been down there for like a certain amount of years already. You know, I've had this time down there and I can't just end it, even though, you know, I understand, you know, Miss Casey's, you know, your wife and all that. So that was very interesting to watch that dynamic. And then later on, we see that he ends up in the elevator, you know, only one ding, by the way. But we'll get into that. Go ahead, Dee.
Yeah, so that also reminded me of when Helly, when it started off the first episode of season 1, when it started off with her, and she was also confused, and she like made that recording to tell her outer self like, I don't want this anymore, and then her outer self replied back like, you know, like, this is what you signed up for, kind of thing. So that kind of reminded me of the scene with the two marks, you know, talking to themselves. Yeah.
Well, let's get a little bit more into it, shall we then, guys? Before we get started, let's say hi. We got Slider, who was here a little bit earlier. What is going on, Slider? If you're watching the replay, thank you so much. We have Nas, who's asking if he was early. I forgot to change the time to 4, so yeah, I guess he was. Sorry, Nas. And then we have Ben as well. He says, don't have the Monday blues. Time for merriment and choreography. So let's go. There's a fan right there. Shout out to Ben. All right, guys, let's get into this. Also, shout out to anybody watching the replay on this. We really appreciate you, as well as the people watching at this very moment. So how we do it here, guys, we break it down into 10 breakdown sections of the entire episode. Excuse me, while the Filipinos pass by with their loud trucks. You can hear that. I live in Hawaii, windows open. We have the 10 breakdowns, and then after that, I took all the information, compiled all the information from the very first episode until the season finale, and I asked AI to give me 5 speculation points of what the AI thinks is going to happen in season 3. So we have a really cool episode to go through here, and let's get started, guys, with the breakdown, starting with breakdown number 1. And we're going to talk about exactly what we're talking about already, which is the two marks face off via a camcorder. And so we kick off with Innie Mark and Outie Mark talking to each other through video messages at Damona's birthing retreat. This is huge because it's the first time they've directly communicated with each other, thanks to Devin and Cobell's lo-fi setup. Innie Mark's inside the cabin, Outie Mark's outside on the balcony. They're arguing over what's next. Outie Mark's obsessed with saving Gemma, his wife, while Innie Mark's starting to question his own existence. It's tragic and funny watching them bicker like siblings, with Innie Mark saying, whatever this life is, it's all we have, showing he's waking up to his own stakes. Guys, that's the first breakdown. What do you think about this scene right here? Go ahead, Shane.
Oh, man, put me on the pressure. All right. Yeah, I mean, we know we kind of broke it down a little bit as we got into it. You know, as far as the way that the actor was able to manipulate his body movements and his facial expressions to be able to show us 2 different personalities. You know, it's interesting. I don't know about you guys, but as you get older, I think you start and settle in on what your music choices are, and they generally were when you were growing up, and it's hard to bring in new stuff when people are like, oh, did you hear this new artist? No, I don't know who you're talking about. I only listen to the 10 people from when I
It all sounds the same.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I try my best to not become an old man, and I try and listen to new stuff, right? And in the last couple of years, I discovered this artist out of the UK. His name is Ren, and he's a rap artist. And he put out a single a couple of years ago called Hi Ren. And I highly recommend anybody to reach out and try and find it. But in the song, he's having a conversation with his self about one side of his personality and the other side of his personality. And it is brilliantly done. And it reminded me a lot of this, having this conversation. And in the song, it's more about him and his self-doubt. And that self-doubt manifests itself as like the devil on his shoulder kind of thing, like telling you.
I was thinking the same thing.
You're not good enough. And I saw some parallels to that when I was watching this scene. So yeah, I highly recommend go and check out Hi Ren. He's an amazing musician. But yeah, that's kind of where my head was at, this duality of, I think a lot of times as humans, we have our own self-doubts and we have conversations with ourselves and we question decisions that we make. I know, I'm sure I'm not alone, but, I'll periodically go, why did I say that thing in high school that one time in that one class? Like nobody gives a shit except for me, and if you ask that person in the class to be like, I don't remember you even saying that thing, but it sticks in our heads of these, decisions that we make over the course of our lives. And so that's kind of where my head was at with this particular scene.
It's funny you say that because even as adults, we still think that way. At least I do. I'm like, why the hell did I say that on stream the other night? That was stupid of me. You know what I mean? Like, and then some, and it still continues on the timeline, by the way.
Yeah.
But by the way, I'm not sure what's going on, but your mic's a little soft, Shane.
Oh,
I don't know if
okay.
you can
All
try to
right.
adjust that, but I'm going to jump to D. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we were talking about when we started the show today. It's just being able to see both sides of Mark, the Indian Audi, and yeah, I mean, I find myself kind of dueling with myself sometimes, like making a decision, and you kind of have to talk to yourself and think it through, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I made this choice, how would that affect me, or if someone else is involved, or if you made that choice and you're thinking back like, oh, what if I didn't do it that way? I should have done it this way, but it's like too late. It's already been done. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I really love the way that they portrayed the two parts of Mark. I don't know how long it took them to do, that. I don't know if it was like just one time they did it or like multiple times, but yeah, it was really cool to see, and how it progressed. Like started off slow, and then the more they're getting into it, like it's just like the back and forth. It gets closer and closer. How do you say it? Like the timing switch back and forth just goes quicker as the pace gets like he's trying to really convince him to do what Audi Mark wants him to do. So really nice job. I mean, as a watcher, spectator, great job to Mark. What's his face? Adam. He's phenomenal. So to see that come out in just like the beginning of the episode, it's like, really cool to see.
Biggest Bro. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, D.
No, I was saying go ahead, Big Bro.
Oh, can you hear me? Good.
Yep.
Good. All right. Yeah, this the difference between the two Marks, and just it kind of reminded me of just a dad talking to his kid, right, and just trying to negotiate, right? Like, come on, buddy, like we can do this, and I'll take you to get some ice cream. It's all good. Like, just it's just a shot. It's just a booster shot. It's all good. And you see the whole time, you have, and this is the funny thing about this show. We have empathy for any Mark. That's our guy.
Yeah.
Like Audi Mark's not really our guy. So, and then you're sitting there, and Audi Mark's like, I'm so glad I'm going to be able to save you from this existence. You know what I mean? Like, I know it must suck down there. I'm sorry I did that to you. And Eddie Mark's just like, no, I mean, it is what it is, but we made it our own. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm happy here. I got like Shane says, they're like kids, and basically they're teenagers.
Yeah.
And first time, you get American Pie, you want to protect American Pie at any cost. So,
Especially if it's apple.
yeah, you best believe Eddie Mark is going to bat. He's like, wait a minute, I'm good. That's all I need. That's all I got down here.
Yeah, I just want another slice.
Yeah, and Audi Mark's like, look, man, like, I need my wife. Like, I didn't know my wife wasn't dead. She's not dead. I can get her back. You can help me get my wife back. This makes sense. And I'll think about reintegration. And one of the really cool changes you see in his face, like he's recording a video, and as soon as he said he's done with the integration, you see him drop it, right? Like that little facade, and boom. And I heard somebody say, like, old school cameras like that, they still record like 2 or 3, like, look, a little millisecond afterwards. So, I mean, if Eddie Mark caught that, like, oh, bro, I don't trust you at all. Like,
right.
And it makes sense, right? Like, for Eddie Mark, he's like, to you, I'm nothing. I really am nothing to you. Like, you're gonna get your thing and screw everybody else. Like, So yeah, and it comes, and this whole conversation comes to play at the end, and I think they did a great job of making us go, wait, what? And then go, well, I get it. I get it. You know what I mean? I think this was a really, really good scene. Really good acting. The actor Adam Scott. I mean,
phenomenal.
To see him rise to this occasion. You know what I mean? Really, really good, man. Really good scene.
From Parks and Rec to this.
Right. From Step Brothers. You know what I mean? like, yeah.
From not being known to being a star. You know what I mean? So, I'm with you 100%, but I looked at it more of like an older brother and a younger brother, and the older brother is literally trying to convince him or manipulate him and say, yo, I'm so sorry I put you down there. I can't believe you've been doing this whole time, but don't worry. I'm going to make sure you don't go down there again, right? That whole manipulation thing and all that. And what I love about this dynamic of them with the camera inside, outside, there's like, you said it before, Shane, like there's a lot of telling and or a lot of like showing us and not telling us kind of a thing. And they're showing us different coins of what's going on with them. You've got Eddie Mark, and he's fired up because there's all this crazy stuff going on. He's by the fireplace. It's warm and it's very hot over there. Then you got cold Audi Mark. He's just gone through reintegration. He is cold, and he's like not only cold, he's got a cold personality right now because all he cares about is his wife. He doesn't give a crap about Eddie Mark, and that's when you see it. That's when you see it. He literally said the line. I said the line right here where he says in his thing where he's basically saying, whatever this life is, this is all we have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's pleading with his outside self, hold the phone. If you do this, you kill us. And I think it's a very powerful thing. This entire segment of the show sets off the entire season finale to the very end. Yeah. Like, we wouldn't be able to have the very end of this episode if we didn't see this. We didn't see the struggle between the both.
Yeah, 100%. Agreed.
So,
also, I really like the fact that Eddie Mark knew, because he was like, the next time I appear, I better be in that elevator.
Yeah, right.
And he didn't walk back out. Yeah, he didn't walk back on the porch. He went through the front door. Yeah. Because he was like, if I see y'all again, it's over.
Real quick before we get move on, but you had talked about, I think Brandon, you had talked about you're basically trying to convince this person to do this thing that they might not want to do. The one that made me actually kind of laugh a little bit was when Cobell uses her outside voice that she used to talk to Mark. Oh, Mark, and that little
Mark.
Mark, the way she like does that inflection with her voice, like this almost kind of motherly, like, come on, it's just a little shot. We're just gonna take this, gonna pinch for a second, but like, I thought that was just great. Like her turning on her different personalities, even though she's not severed, like her being able to turn that on and off of like what she wants to manipulate.
Yeah, when he was like, "What are you doing here?" I was just screaming at the TV, "You're the pet, you're the project." That's what she's doing here. She's observing and reporting you, sir.
Yes. You're the pet.
All right, so let's move on to breakdown number 9, where Helly's rebellion inspires the severed floor. So Helly steps up as a leader, rallying the choreography and merriment crew, those quirky marching band folks that came out of nowhere. She drops a killer speech. They give us half a life and think we won't fight for it. It's after Irving's death. His innie's gone. He's got fired. And she's warning them they could be the next one to be in the chopping block. The band switches sides, helping her and Dylan hold off Milchek while Mark runs to save Gemma. This is Helly owning her innie identity and sparking a mini revolution. So what do you guys think about this scene and what's going on with the rebellion and the marching band? Go ahead, Big Bro.
So I don't know if we're going to talk to this because we already got here, but I want to really break down this entire thing where they went inside and they did like the 1996 Bulls like warm-up song, like
Alan Parsons Project.
Yeah, and like had the Cure statue there, and just and like creepy animatronic just talk to him. And then this was to your floor supervisor, Mr. Milchek.
Mr. Milchek. Your starting center.
Yeah.
Like, that's my guy.
And I want to reiterate this again. And it was so funny because my wife, she doesn't watch our reviews, but when we were watching the episode, she was like, kind of reminds me of your pop, and I was like, oh my god, because like verbatim, this is his outfit. Like this will be like his outfit, like because he was in aerospace, he was like in like this cubicle kind of world, like the little short little afro and like tie and everything. I was dying, and then for him to pull out a full-on marching band, like with the gloves. With the leader like coat and like what an amazing part of the show. Like who does this? who does this?
My guy does this. Milchek, baby.
That's right.
Dude, just fantastic. So yeah, we have that whole thing. And then we lead to Helly into the question. I'm sorry, I had
it's
to
all good.
That part.
It's all good.
Oh man, I was so excited when I first saw it on my screen. I was dancing with it. I was like, "We got more dancing memes, yes!"
And we don't show this, but like this happens right before, or this happens right after, or no, before this happens. It's Dylan and Milchek, and they're signing the thing where Dylan leaves, and then you see Milchek run, right? You hear him run, and you're like, "Where the hell's he going? What's happening?" Right? And then this happens.
He's got to get here, but he's also like Shane made a good point earlier. He was like,
I gotta change my clothes.
He's scared of Dylan too. Like I ain't messing with Dylan. But Helly, it's interesting. It's interesting her motivations for doing it with all the different things we know now, right? Like. I think this was in my mind. I still think this is Helly making the speech. I think it's Helly making the impassioned speech.
100%.
I don't think so.
See, I love this. I love it. I love it
Because she came out of the elevator before this scene.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. So you're saying that this is not, we don't see Helly at all this episode.
No, we see her coming out of the elevator.
That's the only time we see Helly.
Well, no, we see her come out of the elevator. Didn't she also like have James Egan also confront her at the beginning as well?
In the beginning.
That was the night before? Okay.
Right. Wait, yeah. No, it started the episode started with them finishing that.
So the episode started with them with the camcorder, and then you see Mark come out of the elevator because he threatened, like, if I'm not in the elevator, and then Helly comes out right after.
Right after.
In fact, I have the clip. I'm going to show you the clip right now. You hear the bing? There's no ding. You want to hear it again? No ding, guys. No ding.
See, that's the thing. So that's the thing, right? Like, all right. I'm going off the basis of the fact.
You want to play it again?
No. I believe you. I don't know yet. I don't know. I don't think Helena can make this speech.
I agree.
I just don't. I don't see her
make
this speech. But they have watchers. I mean, you're right. She watches the tape. Yeah.
She can sure make this speech. They are watching him 24/7. She's literally on Mark's ass outside. She's been stalking him. She has like some fixation towards him. She's been watching him, like, and I mean, the look at the end of this episode kind of tells it all, right? But like,
I think there was a switch in between there.
Well, here's the thing, right? She got caught once, so she already knows she can't mess up again if she does this. She is not only she's an Egan. She's an Egan. She's going to double, triple down. They're nefarious. She has been trained to be this way. She has been trained to be in the cult of Kier, and they're just what's the word I'm trying to look for? Punctual. They know what they're doing. They're sharp, or at least they think they know what they're doing. I can almost guarantee she can now pretend to be anybody she wants because she got messed up once, and she's watching whatever's happening. She already knows her dad don't like her. Go ahead, Shane.
Okay. There's definitely some room for your theory for sure. And I'll give you another bit of evidence. When Helly or Helena is hanging over his shoulder right before he finishes Cold Harbor, she says to him a line of dialogue. He says something to the effect of, you're not Helena, but I am her. She says, right? You remember that line of dialogue?
But didn't they also talk about the outside world during that dialogue? They actually talked about the outside world.
The equator, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The equator.
How does Helly know that?
Right. So there's some arguments to be made for your side of it, but I still believe that it's Helly. And mostly because I want to believe that, because I want them to have their love together. And there's other things, like she says, like the first thing that she could remember was, what was it, Detroit, right? And
Delaware.
Delaware. And all she could remember was the equator. I love that line of dialogue. I'll see you at the equator, when they finally, have their moment together. And I think, Brandon, you're right that they're watching the whole time, and she would have heard her father say, "I don't love my daughter." And that she would go, well, fuck it then. What am I doing? I'll just, let Helly do her thing. And I think it's sort of what James wants, because he sees Kier in the innie Helly, and she has the strength to pull off this speech that I don't think Helena has the ability to pull off, because she's been pushed down her entire life just to follow rules. And that's what James doesn't like about her, is that she just follows the rules and doesn't have leadership abilities, whereas Helly does have leadership abilities. I've been meaning to say this for the past couple of times when we've been doing this show, is the thing I love about that actress and the way that she differentiates herself between Helena and Helly is, on the outside, she's very prim and proper. When she is Helly, the thing that I keep forgetting to say is, to me, she almost walks like a boxer. That's like she has this kind of like she moves her shoulders as she's like coming into the ring. That's
like a swagger.
Like swagger, like that stance, even in that picture. Like she looks like she's at the weigh-in at a boxing match, and I think that fight is what James sees in her, and that's what makes me believe that that's Helly.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
Anyway,
No, but that's good. That's good. You know what I mean? We gotta have a conversation about this.
Yeah.
And you know, and I want to believe that it's Helly. I do, because I like Helly over Helena.
Yeah.
But I just feel that she's just so nefarious. But go ahead, Big Bro or D, go ahead.
Yeah, I believe this is Helly in this moment. I do believe there's a switch, and I don't know when. I don't know why, but I do think there's a switch in the end when she calls Mark at the end. But in this, I think with the impassioned speech, I think this was the fire of Kier that her dad saw. Like I think this is what he meant by like lead. You know what I mean? And you know, to be a good leader, you need to build the fire in people. And for her to be able to pull that out of the band people, right? Like, look, band people, you've lost people too. Like in the band, you've lost people. Like that's a lot. That's a lot. So you know, and they looked at each other like, yeah, remember Timmy Tuba? he didn't come back. He didn't come back.
The choreography of Merriman, they lose people too.
Yeah.
I want to know what that
we lost the
does
flute player
most of the time.
Right?
Sitting around practicing
all day, you know.
It's like, where are they coming from though? Like,
Yeah.
this is another group of this is like an army. Where did they come from? Where are they hiding?
Yeah.
Are they severed?
There's
Like,
definitely
they have
severed
to
for
be.
sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, if they get it, yeah, they're severed too. But why would you need to be severed to be in a margin? Who knows? Anyway,
Well, what are you doing if you're not doing Merriman and
Just
choreography?
You're just practicing.
Practice.
But see, and this is another thing that kind of like explodes my mind, because we know that Lumen is essentially worldwide.
Yeah.
How many of these other random departments do they have?
Well,
Like, they can
I'm
have
glad
a
you brought
department
this
for
up.
anything.
I'm glad you brought this up, because I was watching a breakdown about Lumen and its various outfits out there, and other companies choosing the severed way, not just Lumen, but other companies, contractors, right? And there was I don't know if you remember in season 1 when there was like a story about a severed worker having a baby with another one, and they made a big thing about it, and you had Audi Mark watching it on TV while drinking a beer and stuff like that, though. So I thought that was very interesting.
I don't remember that. I'll have to go back and rewatch.
Yeah, that was in season 1, I think, in the middle of the season. I mean, they like to bring up like children and births a lot too in this.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of synergies in between. D, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, at first I was kind of like a bit confused, but you guys kind of answered my question, because like I didn't see, or I don't recall her interacting with a lot of the CNM crew. So for her to like just say a speech and then all of a sudden these people are convinced, and they turn their ways, kind of made me think like, okay, that was kind of fast. But if someone gave like a really compelling speech, you are able, and have that fire, you probably are able to convince maybe not all, but a majority of the people listening to you. And to answer your question on where these people just pop out of, there are secret walls now. Okay, they just come out.
She's totally right. She's totally right.
And the part where Big Bro started off with Milchick is he is so punctual and such a like he wants to just be like perfect all the time, that he has time to sign the paperwork, rush as he's like changing like Superman on the fly to make it there for the presentation and put on like this face, because to me like it looks like he's holding himself like maybe he is enjoying it, but there's like a little part of him that's like, I have to do this shit again, like, and I have to put on a show. I just think he's like there's a little part of him that's like tired of this bullshit,
Oh,
but because he wants to, appease the higher authority and be this, Lumen Employee of the Year, he is gonna sacrifice his happiness to keep, to just save face. I don't know. That's just kind of what I have. There's a little bit of him that really hates that. I don't know.
hey, when that doll when Kira started talking back to him, I was like, oh, here's Hanano's part. He's gonna make Milcheck's going good, baby. He's about to go off. You know what I mean? And then he took it. He took it in stride and said, "Okay, I'm Kira to the end, baby."
Yeah.
Well, but you heard how he talked though to the doll, right? Or he talked with a lot of forcefulness, like like kind of screw you kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
I wonder who was able to play the doll. Who in Lumen was able to do that.
I gotta figure out. But I'll go after Shane. Go ahead, Shane.
So I watched a breakdown with the actor who's modeled after they took his face, and all of the images of Kier are modeled after this actor. And as it turns out, he had to audition to be his own voice. So he's actually on set behind the wall interacting with this actor who plays Milchek during this scene. Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. It's a cool breakdown. It was Screen Crush did it. Really great job on their part to get that actor to come on their podcast.
Audition for his own voice. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah.
And he didn't even know about the animated opening sequence, the very end when the baby Cure crawls over by Mark. He didn't know about that, and he had to pause it. And he called his wife over. He's like, "Look, it's me. It's a baby." So I thought that was really funny. He was funny to watch.
That'd be an interesting thing to be the actor of the cult leader of this show, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
And okay, I got animatronic or android vibes. Like I really got the Westworld vibe here with this doll right here, because this doll was very intuitive, and not only was intuitive, was really like being demeaning towards Milchek, right?
Yeah.
Like we're watching you, and he's like, this guy was taller or whatever, right? Or whatever he said, right? Like, I'm like, that's my guy. He's, and you see it too. And we'll talk about it a little bit later. I think we're jumping a little bit ahead here, but like, yeah, this is my guy right here. Let's move on to the next breakdown, and we'll get back to this. So, D, is there anything else you want to add to this before we move on?
Oh no, I said my piece. You were away for a little bit, but I said my piece.
I had to get someone to feed the cats. If not, the cat would have irritated us for at least another hour. So, all right, let's go. Number 8, Cold Harbor's true purpose is revealed, guys. So we finally learned that what Mark's been refining in macro data refinement, and it's dark. Cobell drops the bomb. The numbers are your wife. Every file Mark completed created a new innie for Gemma. 25 in total. There you go. Cold Harbor is the last one, and finishing it means Lumen's done with Gemma. They'll remove her chip, killing her, all parts of some twisted plan to free the world from pain. As hinted by Kier's statue later, it's not just work. It's Mark unknowingly building versions of his wife for Lumen's experiments. What do we think about that? And the realization that these numbers we're seeing is consciousness. D?
It's very interesting, and I was watching a breakdown too, just to kind of get more information, and because it also questions like how were the other guys like Helly and Irving and Dylan able to also work on the same thing when they really weren't like tied to Gemma in any kind of way, really. So I thought that was really interesting, but it's good to know, what all those kind of mean. I actually was thinking to pause like a segment of where the numbers show up and kind of decode it. I'm like, oh no, that's gonna take me like so long, and it probably doesn't mean anything. But it's I like that we finally got to see, what all those things mean, like with the. When it drops down to the 4 things, the woe, frolic, dread, and malice, the 4 tempers. So I just thought that was kind of interesting to see, and now we understand what it's all about. I mean, geez, 25 That's that we know of that were successful, right? So who knows? There's probably other ones. I don't know.
And you can't tell me she ain't broken inside after having 25 personalities in your head. That's like literally a multiple personality disorder, if anything, right? Shout out to Omi Wan. He is in the chat. This finale was so good, and Mr. Milkshake got the moves. That's right. My guy got the moves right there. So good to see you, Omi Wan. Thank you for stopping by. Shane, what do you think about the realization of the numbers and that being consciousness?
Yeah, I mean, I over the past couple of weeks when we've been talking about this, I think we all were in agreement that we knew that all these elements are what make up Gemma's personality and who she is as a person. My feeling is that they may have already discovered this previously, and I think that there's a theory going on that the speaker box with the board is actually all of the old Cure or Egan members.
Oh, that's not it.
And they've already sort of figured it out how to digitally make somebody live on. It's just a matter of now they're trying to find a way to make a blank slate that they could then put that consciousness into. So I think that animatronic Cure that was in there during Milchek's performance, I think that is the actual Cure Egan. They're just kind of digitally exist. So, but we'll have to see what they do in season 3. But I think that there's a good possibility of that because they're so mysterious with the board and this kind of scratchy sound that they make in the speaker system. So, yeah, I that wasn't a huge revelation for me. I mean, it was nice that they gave an answer. And that's one thing I really respect about this show as opposed to other shows that are in this same vein that kind of work on mysteries. A lot of times those shows, we've talked about this, don't actually give the answers. And I feel like this show does give answers, even like, we'll get to it, I'm sure, about the goats. Like even little things they do provide answers to. And so yeah, I'm totally down with this, being kind of reduced down to essentially binary. It's like numbers, whether it's not ones and zeros, but that there's a numerical equivalent to feelings, which is interesting. An interesting way to look at our psychology, what makes us up.
Man, I love that. Go ahead, Big Bro.
Yeah. It was a good revelation. It was really good because it was her explaining to Annie Mark why this needed to happen. And I think this is kind of what kind of to go like, you know what? Screw it. But like, you know what I mean? Like I want something out of this too. For it to be him that did this to his wife, Audi Mark has to feel bad about it, but then again, he doesn't really know, right? It's only Annie Mark that found out. I'm not sure if they still told Audi Mark what, like, Annie Mark was doing, but like, breaking down your wife like that, and then you're the reason why she's getting put through all this is going to be hard for you to take in. But then if you're Annie Mark, do you really care? You don't really know this lady, so you're like whatever. But it's interesting that is broken down into the four little pillars that they have, or the four tempers.
The four tempers.
The four tempers. Yeah, very, very interesting. I think we still don't know enough. That's the beauty of this show, right? They give us a little bit and then, float on, guys. We're not going to give you the full answer, but, think about it and sit there and stew a little bit. So I thought this was a really good reveal.
Yeah, I'm with you on this, Shane. And I think we've been speculating for a while that this is someone's mind we're looking at. And what I like about this is just me kind of looking at it in a computer perspective, right? There's different files, different traits of her mind, whether it's like, like a trait of like an emotion or memory. And I feel like he's just moving them in these boxes and she's experiencing that, you know, as a different persona, but maybe these are just different personas of herself inside, and they broke them down into these rooms. And so maybe these 25 personalities is really just her split into these multiple personalities. And this is what happens when you like take pieces of you getting severed out in your own brain and making these other personalities to the very end at Cold Harbor, where she is just pretty much just a husk, right? Like she knows what's going on. She just doesn't know who she is, right? Which goes to the whole thing that, you know, yes, you know, we can program consciousness into these things, right? And I'm with you on the little Kier mannequin being actual Kier himself. And, you know, I never thought of that maybe the board is also just different consciousnesses, and that's how they, is that a word? Different, you know what I'm trying to say.
It is.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's just basically these different essences of the board, not in physical form, right? They're digitized like this. So that's what I thought this was in the revelation when she said, like, this is Gemma. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, okay, this makes a ton of sense.
Did you like that last little line of dialogue right before he puts the one in the box and she says, "At least this is a happy one"? I thought that was really cool. Like it was that little line of dialogue to me was actually very sad, because how much like fear and dread do they have to endure while they're looking at these numbers? Because it's all just emotions and feelings that aren't related to anything. I'm just scared of this section, and I'm going to put it into this. So the fact that, you know, it told me that a happy one doesn't come around that often.
Yeah. Whew. All right. Well, let's move on, guys. So let's go to number 7, which is Gemma's heartbreaking test in Cold Harbor. We see Gemma's final efficacy test on the testing floor, and it's a gut puncher. She's dismantling a crib, the one she and Mark planned to have for their never-born baby. While James Egan watches via the monitor, listening to Billie Holiday's "I'll Be Seeing You" playing in the background, she's emotionless, proving the Severance chip works, but it's devastating knowing this is Lumens torturing her with her own grief. Mark bursts in, bloody and desperate, begging her to leave with him, and that's the scene, guys. What do you think about this? Go ahead, D.
It was really sad because as an audience, like, I know what it signifies, right? But she's so, like you said, like an MC husk. Sorry. That she doesn't know what's going on, like what it means. She's just taking apart a crib. And it's like the exact same crib that Mark was putting together. I think you need to go.
Okay, go ahead, Shane. No, I'll just carry on with what Dee was saying, because I think we're on the same page. This is and I think that's what makes finishing Cold Harbor so powerful, is that this would be the most traumatic emotion for this person, and they keep talking about how the barrier is holding, and in order to hold that barrier to not break through this incredibly emotional moment in this person's life, it had to be this. So to see her just slowly taking it apart, and to Dee's point, just not having an emotional connection to it is what it needed. That's what needed to happen in order for Cold Harbor to be a success. It was a great scene. It's interesting. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm excited now. You know, we've the last couple of episodes that we've done, we've talked about, you know, our theories about where things are going. It's exciting to me. We had initially thought that maybe Gemma wasn't going to survive, but now I think it's exciting to think about the possibility that we have the outside team and the inside team are going to be running this parallel fight to, like, she's going to be wanting her husband back because now she's on the outside and she knows that he's alive on the inside, and he's on the inside trying to stay with his new love, Helly, you know? So, all of that sets up so many great emotional dynamics for the next season.
Yeah.
I feel
Biggest
like it's
Bro.
like
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I feel like it's like you know, when you have your online profile and you're like the relationship, and it's it's complicated. That's what it would be for Mark, guys. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, it's so sad that they only got 30 seconds to hold each other and get
If
in the
anything.
elevator, and then that was it. 30 seconds they got together, and then that whole kiss in the middle of the kiss, and then Miss Casey, what are we doing?
Man, I was just as heartbroken when she became Miss Casey.
Yep.
And it happened again on that elevator.
Yep.
And it just such a good moment for her as like a character, right? Like
yes.
Going in to that Cold Harbor scene and her not feeling the emotion that you know she should be feeling.
Yeah.
Like not being able to have a child, losing kids, trying so much to want a kid, and then having to break down a crib. Like that's the whole reason why Mark couldn't do it himself. He smashed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's too much. It's and for her to we know she should be doing the same thing, but her for just slowly just dismantling it screw by screw, bit by bit, without any kind of extra feeling behind it, and having freaking the head loop Jack just sitting there just like, yes, it's holding strong, yes, like what,
in his own private showroom, right?
Yeah,
so creepy.
Yeah. His own private little
on an old CRT monitor.
Yeah.
On an old CRT monitor.
Just very interesting. And then, we get our guy Mark getting in there and covered in blood.
Yeah.
And you have to imagine what that must be like for a new person to be like, okay, first off, this voice is telling me to take apart a baby crib. Then this guy comes in covered in blood, and I think I should listen to him. And then the voice is like, "Don't touch his hand." And then she's like, "Oh no, I definitely need to touch his hand because the voice hasn't been in my home." And them getting that moment where they go outside, and she realizes it's Mark, and Mark realizes that's his wife. And this is the first time he's seeing his wife alive, right? Like, not just like a husk of her. It's her again.
Yeah.
And then, you have to run. You can't hold on. You have to run, keep going. And then you're in the elevator. And then, like you said, the change. And then you get to our end scene. It's just, I think a lot of people had big expectations for Cold Harbor. Even I had, oh, this must be death. Maybe she's going to be drowning in there and stuff like that. I think that for a quote unquote subtler approach to it, I think it was still really, really powerful in a sense of, we know what emotions that she should have been feeling. And they almost completed it. I mean, she was, if it wasn't for Mark getting in there and getting it done, last second, like on Galaxy Quest, with the countdown, stopping it at one, dramatic effect. So yeah, really great scene. Really great scene.
I love this scene. And what I liked the most about this, like for the expectation of Cold Harbor, to me, this paid off for me, because to me, this was death. It was the death of their kid. And, I don't think they ever reconciled that, because then she died like right after. Right. And so like for her to dismantle this and be also emotionless, it was like her dealing with the death of their kid, but not knowing that, but also the death of herself, because, it's holding, right? There's no more Gemma there. They're proving that they can wipe out emotion, and this is it, because that's the most tragic thing that has happened to her. She's lost this kid. And so for me, this was it was a representation of death in a way. It wasn't necessarily her drowning or her dying, right? But her having to deal with that fact right there. So I love this episode. I'm a stickler for a couple to get back together and just to see them, even for the 30-second love hug and all that stuff. It was beautiful for me to see that. I love this actress. I think she's great. I love that she didn't die, or at least we don't know that she's died, right? And this last scene where they're kissing, right? And you see the acting of the kissing, right? You see the passion to where they're like straight as an arrow when they get through the elevator and you hear the ding and all of a sudden this is happening, right? And you're like, damn it, like they're about to escape, but now we are stuck here again with the innies, right? We have to deal through that. And then, he's able to get her out, and we all know what happened after that. So like, for me, this was devastating for me, because as much as we talked about like any Mark being with Helly and all that, I at the end when I saw them together, I'm like, because I'm a married man, right? Like I want to see a married couple get back together. Like if D and I was in this situation, I'd be like, damn, this is perfect. We're back together. Only for it to be ripped away because of a stupid elevator and the dynamics of Lumen, right? And then obviously we're going to talk a little bit more about what happens after this, but I really enjoyed this part. I like the fact that you got that crazy doctor trying to chase after her right at the very end. And then, yeah, this was a great scene.
Yeah, agreed.
Go ahead, Dee.
Can I go now? I'm childless. So yeah, the before, like the scene they showed of Gemma before she goes into Cold Harbor, and she had to put on that that sweater or the jacket. That was the same jacket that we see her in the night she was dead. On the outside world. So I thought that was kind of like significant. But yeah, just to like see all the emotions and her not having any feelings while taking apart the crib. And then even when Mark comes in, I mean, it's Innie Mark, so he's Innie because he has no emotion as well to seeing the crib getting dismantled. And seeing him this time around, he's the one with all the blood, whereas in the outside world, when they were trying to have a baby, and she was the one at the one point where he comes running in after work or wherever he was, I forgot, and she's the one crying in the tub because she's, she had the miscarriage and she's the one bleeding. So I thought that kind of like, now it's like a reflection, but with him now. And all I gotta say is, you have the option to not go through an elevator. In buildings, they have freaking stairs, so they need to find the stairs and go through the stairs, not the elevator. That's all I gotta say. But nowhere in there do you see any freaking stairs. So you first have to find the hidden wall, and then through there you'll find the stairs.
I love it.
I'm just like, this scene just like got me. Like literally the 30 seconds they had of like, oh my gosh, you don't even have time to process that your husband and your wife is right there in front of you, and then it's like that moment gets taken away. Get those stairs, man. You see them just like running. But yeah, this was like so bittersweet. It was. They just snatched it away.
I am so happy that you brought that those parallels up. I didn't even put those two together as far as her coming to him and he's covered in blood, and then it mirrored him going to her when she was, covered in blood. I think there's a lot of that happens in this show, this idea of mirror, even down to the simple things like, his fish tank in his apartment, where it's split in half, and there's a blue fish on one side and red fish on the other side. There's a lot of this mirroring that happens throughout the show. And that's really cool that you remembered that and brought that up. I hadn't thought of it.
All right. Well, let's move on, guys. So Breakdown number 6, Mark's violent showdown with Drummond. And I know we're kind of like going backwards, but Mark's rescue mission gets physical, showing how far he'll go against the big guy right here. On his way to Gemma, he's tackled by Mr. Drummond, the hulking security boss, who comes out of a hidden a hidden room. It's a brutal fight. Drummond nearly strangles him, but Mark grabs a gun and chases him off. This isn't quite Mark, we know. Or this isn't quite the Mark that we know. It's a man pushed to his limits, fueled by love and rage. Drummond dies in the elevator, but not before we learn a little bit about also the goat people and what they do with the goats. So, guys, what do we think about this scene as well as Drummond and the secret rooms?
It's so crazy that he died kind of on accident. Because he didn't, I think he meant to just, use him when he comes down, when you hold someone at gunpoint to get your point across. I don't think he meant to kill him, but it's because he, went through the whole changing thing in the elevator. And then that just kind of like triggered his finger to like pull triggered his finger to pull the trigger. Yeah. So, I mean, that was crazy too. The fighting scene, like this guy is like bulky. He reminds me of what's the character in Game of Thrones, the Mountain, where he's just like this big mass of like a wall of just muscle or whatever he has, and he's just like fighting him. And just the first thing that he did, where he was like, "Pah!" and he just like punches him right there. I was like, oh shit, like, dude. It's gonna be like SmackDown. I was like, oh my gosh. But props to Mark, because he's like the skinnier guy and he doesn't really fight. But when you're trying to do it for love or to save the female, you'll probably do like a lot more than you think. And the adrenaline too, right? It's like just in you, just like going.
Well, the thing is though, he didn't do it for love because he was any Mark. But he was doing it for the cause, the quest, right? Because Helly convinced him, you got to do this. Now's your chance. And he made that decision on MDR, right? But what I found interesting was they don't care about him anymore. This whole scene pretty much proves we're done with you. Cold Harbor is done. We're going to kick your ass. And that's what happened. That's what this guy did. And like, it was just coincidental this guy died because, Mark did something that was coincidental. And that's what happened. But yeah, I mean, this goes to show that, none of these innies are really anything other than just a product, right? We established that just kids, but even more so, like Mark, it's like, we're done with you. The day before, it's like he was the most important person. Where the hell is he? He called in sick. And now it's like, we're done with you. We're going to beat you up. Your meat. Go ahead, Shane.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, that's corporate mentality. You're important to us when we need you for this thing, and then as soon as you're done with it, we can fire you at any point. Doesn't matter. It's interesting that scene in the elevator. To me, that was their Pulp Fiction moment. In Pulp Fiction when he's driving in the car and he's got the gun, and then it goes off and shoots. That was their Pulp Fiction moment in the elevator. I also, this is just weird. I'm sure there's nothing to this, but I don't know about you guys, but when they hold up the signs, the band holds up the sign, the drawing of Mark, that looked more like Tom Cruise than I've ever seen Mark look like Tom Cruise. And when he's holding himself up in the doorway, it reminded me of that Mission Impossible when he's climbing up the side of the Dubai Tower, where he's like, wedged in. And I was like, are they? Maybe I'm just reading into it, but
it's Mission Impossible.
Wasn't Ben Stiller and him good friends? So
right. But I love the brutality of that scene and the way that he just throws Mark around like a rag doll and just slams him against the wall. Yeah, you're absolutely right. He's just a mountain of a human being, and I thought it opens up the door for what's happening with Gwendolyn, right? That's the actress. And the pain that they're put through downstairs, raising these goats from babies and caring for them, and then having to watch that happen. And the comment that he makes, how many more of these do we have to do? As many as it takes, as many as, many we tell you that it's going to do. how painful that is for her. You can see it on her face that this ritual, she's kind of dolled up and she's got this, dress on and her hair is done. It's all part of this whole ritual process. And to see her reach her breaking point when she has had enough, boy, she is not to be messed with. But still has compassion and wasn't going to pull the trigger, just wanted him to stop. She even says no more death. And that was on him. He didn't listen. He kind of got what he was asking for. So yeah, that whole scene was just really different from anything else I think we've experienced in the series so far, as far as the amount of violence and the blood and the, all of it.
Did you notice like symbols on this white box? I noticed that and I was trying to find the white box to show us, but there's actually symbols, almost look like Egyptian symbols on the box.
Interesting.
Yeah, there is one that in the breakdown that I was watching, on the symbol of the box, it has like a picture of like a resurrection of like the that was one of them. And then there's also like writing, but it was too, even though the person tried to like zoom in, you couldn't tell what the writing was. Yeah, and like the way that the white box is, it kind of looks like a baby cradle.
Yeah.
And then where you put the head of the goat to like be severed, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like those heads that are in that one painting with Cure with the sword above.
Yeah.
Kind of also reminded me of when you what baptism, when they had the baby, that they put in the the bowl. So I watched that other breakdown with the actor who plays Cure, and it was interesting. He mentioned that throughout the series there are other little things that are maybe not as visible, and one example he gave was when they do their retreat out in the cold, every one of them is wearing a belt buckle that has Cure on the belt buckle with two goats next to it, and you only can really see it on Miss Wong. So I meant to ask, I turned the volume up on the mic. Is that better for you?
It sounds a lot better. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Interesting stuff.
Emil lives because of Mark. Praise be, the goat lives. Like you guys said, just her having to raise these goats and then bring them to sacrifice, and she has to be the one to do it. Like she has to be the one that pulled the trigger. That's got to be super traumatizing for her, and then she's a whole room full of people that really care about the goats. I mean, in season 1, we saw the guy that was just feeding the baby goats, and he's like, they're not ready. Don't take them. And now we know why he's like that. Yeah. Like, get away. Like, anytime somebody's here, you guys are coming to take the goat and murder it. You know what I mean? Don't mess with Gwendolyn Christie. You guys kept saying the mountain. I thought of him like the Hound, and just like the Hound, he got his ass whooped. All right. Gwendolyn is not for play, but he did hit her, and I was not happy about it. I was like, oh man. But it's funny because as a big guy, I always I love attacking a big guy because I'm a big guy. Go for his knees. They hate it when you go for their knees. You know what I mean? They can't support all that weight. Like, get him down. Get him. And then when he got on top of him, I was like, oh no, he's done, baby. Look, yeah, see, if I get you like that, it's over. Like, there's no saving you, dude. Like, I got the weight on you. Yeah, you're done. You're done. Like, I was like, she needs to save him right here. Because other than that, he's squashed. You know what I mean? So it was a really good, like you said, brutal. When he literally swings him to the wall, like that was
I was like, how does he not have a broken
he just
neck?
uses pinky and just
Yeah. And it's like D said, it's like Shane said, we don't need you no more. Oh, you about to get all this.
Yeah.
How dare you not give it a proper call off time?
That's right.
2
You
hours
call
before
in
your
sick?
shift. 2 hours before your shift. Oh, you think it's
You know what that Milchuk guy called me?
He told me to go devour.
Yeah.
I got a 3 point. But yeah, man, just brutal, really good scene. Like I really enjoy all the different aspects of this episode. Like as we're breaking it down, we're talking about the same episode, but just completely different like scenes, completely different reasons, and completely different like acting. Like we got a brutal like fight scene here, and it was as good as any. Bloody, gory, and all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Shane mentioned the Pulp Fiction thing. And that's exactly what I thought about. Like down to the blood and everything. I was like, oh, that's hilarious. You know, and then just them acting that way, and then we're learning now. We're learning that this is like literal what are the goats for? Literal sacrifice. Yeah. As goats have been used for centuries. You know what I mean? So we're getting more into that the dogma of Lumen. You know what I mean? Like what how is this based as a religion down to the actual sacrificing of goats to guide the spirit along with them? You know what I mean? Like that's like their whole thing. So very interesting. I was satisfied with the goat explanation.
Yeah.
So I was not satisfied because I want to know what the ritual looks like. I want to really know, like, so what is Cold Harbor? Like, you know, what if none of this happened and they succeeded? What then? What do you do with the goat? What happens to Gemma? Is she like put on like an altar? Is she sacrificed? Do they kill the goat on there? Like, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't ever get context on what happens if you sacrifice the goat. What happens to Gemma? Because we never got there because Mark was able to save her before we even got to that part of the show, right?
I thought
do they explain?
Yeah, there's some lines of dialogue that don't detail the explanation, but they give the impression that the death of the goat would coincide with the death of Gemma, and the goat would take her essence into the other world. Essentially, I thought that's what the dialogue.
Yeah,
that's the impression I got.
But you know what I'm saying, right? Like, where's the room? What does it look like? Does it happen here? Right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like context, right? We never get that, and maybe that means we'll get it later.
Maybe, yeah. Unless, you know, somebody was supposed to come into that room at the same time of Gemma's room with the similar type of gun to the back of the head. Those there's a name for those particular ones that just
the air pistol or something like that.
It's like it puts out
because this guy's watching the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, and to your point though, Hinano, that I don't know that doctor would have gone through with it because he wanted her as his own little plaything because he's a little freaky.
But he was saying like the numbers are going up. You know, he was even complaining like, "Hey, the numbers aren't moving, right?" Yeah. And he wanted the numbers to move. So
yeah, interesting.
Very interesting. Go ahead, Dee.
Yeah, what I found interesting too, and you guys have talked about this too, is the whole sacrificial thing. Like with the goat, they've used that in a lot of like satanic rituals, and like how she's like all dressed in black. Yeah. But her face is white, you know, for like purity. And then they also they're in a room that's like completely white for like, you know, maybe after the sacrifice, it's like a rebirth. How you were saying, Shane, baptism.
Yeah.
But I found it interesting though when I was going through one of the breakdowns that her name, Lorne, is actually Scottish for fox, and foxes prey on goats, most specifically kids, which are also, you know, baby goats. So I thought that was kind of like, whoa, the goat lady is really called, you know, fox, and it's like, you know, the hunter of the goats. So I thought that was kind of cool. Well, not cool, but interesting how that kind of like ties in.
I guess that's what's so beautiful about this show is there's so much hidden Easter eggs in everything.
Yeah.
Every little thing, like from the backdrop of what you're looking at, from maybe that red stapler as an example, right? You know, just
Yeah.
something of that sort, right? So,
Yeah.
but let's continue, guys. Let's keep it moving right here. So, Milchick's crumbling loyalty. Mr. Milchick's starting to crack under Lumen's pressure, hinting at a future betrayal. He's leading a bizarre skit with an animatronic Kier statue, complete with a laugh track, but he snaps, pointing out the real Kier was shorter. Earlier, he's been mocked for his vocabulary and blamed for failures. When Mark bolts, Milchick chases him, but Dylan and the band slow him down. His grin fading. He's a loyal dog who might be back in season 3, but we're not sure. What do you guys think is going on with Milchick, guys? This is him, right? Like, he's literally trying to, like, get out of the bathroom. He's being held back, and you can see him go from, like, the happy-go-lucky guy, you know, when he was doing, like, the marching band thing to, like, he's pissed, but he's also having a moment.
Milchick is going to be our adversary. This is going to be our guy. He's locked in. After that little comment with Kier there, I thought maybe we'll have, like, you know, the you know what? Screw this. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, you know. But I think he's locked in, man. I think he really believes in Kier. He's a company man. He wants to believe in a company, and I think it gives him a higher responsibility. You know, it helps drive him, and I think he has a good amount of power there to make him want to stay in that position. And he's really good at it. I think he's like, there's a part of him that has fun with it, man. Like, I know it's an ad, but like, you don't dance that good and not have fun. You know what I mean? So yeah, I thought this scene with Milchick, I think he's gonna play as our kind of like an underboss bad, right? Like if this was like the Joker, this is like one of the henchmen that the Joker sends out, but this is like your head henchman that just stays there and is annoying. Like Rocksteady and Bebop and Ninja Turtles, and then, you know, they have Shredder that sends them out. Like, this is him. But this is like your top guy. Like, you're not gonna get anywhere until you beat Milchick. You know what I mean? Then you get to the boss.
D?
I kind of think Milchick has a war raging in himself every single day he wakes up.
I feel the same.
Because he wants to be, like, he needs to be the top guy that's always, he needs praise. He needs acknowledgement that what he's doing is, you know, like the perfect attendance kind of guy in class. Like, straight A, he needs to be that person. Sorry. But at the same time, he has moments where he thinks it's like the highest of the highs for him, he gets like kicked down a notch. And for someone to like put in all that effort to be this like wonderful guy at work and to just be kicked down by like one little comment, you know, that kind of gets demeaning in, you know, after a while. So I don't know with him. He's someone that I'm not too sure of, but every time I see him, you know, play out a part, I'm always wondering, like, in the back of my head, like, we're so focused on, you know, the 4 main characters that are severed and we see their severed lives. Why? Who's to say that Milchick isn't also severed, but we don't know that? They're only showing us the person he can be as an innie. And what if his outie is a total opposite of who he is in the inside?
I like what you're going with that. And I feel that. For me, I feel like Milchick, and like he's like my favorite character besides Mark, but he reminds me. He's like Gru, like for me. You know what I mean? I think he can be redeemed, or he's like Loki, right? You know, I feel like that's who this guy can be. We don't know where he's going to be. Yes, he's a company man. I also feel like he really enjoys his job. He wanted Cobell's position. Look, remember the first episode when he's waiting for his name to come on a stupid computer? Like, he is proud of this job. And, you know, he wants to be a good boss. You can kind of see it, right? He gave leeway. And then, you know, him giving leeway got him screwed. He got in trouble. That's why Mrs. Wong is now gone. But, you know, and you can see that there's a happy-go-lucky side to him as well. And I think he's getting torn every single time we see him get put in these positions. Like, this is another time he gets put in this position. And, you know, and many times this season he's been put in this position. The time when Miss Casey came out of the testing floor, he had to go run there and, like, stop her, right? He's always trying to put out fires. And I think over time that's just going to get to somebody. So I still have faith for my guy here.
Yeah, for me, I'm not sure that he is severed, only because we've seen him the same on the inside on the severed floor as well as on the outside when he's trying to put out fires, like Hinano said. So, as far as the future for Milchek, I could see him being an adversary. It'll be very interesting how he's able to get out of this situation with a room full of people that are ready to beat his ass. Essentially, he's going to get beat up by the band, which is, you know, kind of funny. So I don't know unless, you know, they tie him up and. But, you know, in the end, he might be the one that shows them the stairs, as Dee said. He might know the exit. So, yeah, I'm not sure. He's definitely the one that I don't know enough about to make any kind of a judgment, other than what we've been shown that he is a corporate guy. I'm in agreement with Brandon. I feel like the only times that he's ever really come alive and I felt like Ben himself is during the dance sequences and when he's trying to, it's almost like The Office with Steve Carell. Like, he wants to be loved by the employees, but also wants to be in charge. Yeah, he's complicated in his internal thoughts. And I don't know what his true motivations are, and if he could be swayed to turn against the company that essentially, you know, provides him what looks like a comfortable life in this town. You know, that's got to be a tough thing especially in this area, to be able to afford his motorcycle and his leather jacket and, you know, all the comforts of his life. And I don't know that there's another employer in town that would be able to supply him with, you know, the enormity and scale of Lumen. So there'd have to be a real reason for him to turn against Lumen to help them in their escape. The only thing is, if next season there's some sort of a confrontation between him and his nemesis, which is Cobell, you know, if she comes in and tries to take control again, then he could be the adversary that helps them to fight against her.
And I feel like they're setting that up. I really do, because we never found out fully why Cobell went back home to Salt's Neck to get the notebook. Right. We never get told what happened. So that's going to come back up in season 3. And that's my big hope. Exactly what you just described here, that, you know, he'll come out on top because, you know, maybe deep down inside, because Cobell looks like she's still the same. She's not changed one bit at all.
Agreed.
Before we move on to you, Big Bro, or D, I'm going to pull up these comics real quick. Nas says the actor that plays Milchek was dope for showing up in the theater showing. So it looks like he actually went and showed up in the public for people. That's awesome. Mark D also writes, Mr. Milchek's got to get his own episode next season. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. We need to know more about what makes him tick. You know what I mean? And maybe we'll get more of that. Maybe there's a family member we don't know about, you know, that's in town. So we'll have to see. And then lastly, Nas writes, Milchek reminds me of the middle manager that enjoys his job and opportunity, but the massive company doesn't recognize him, and now we are starting to see that drain onto him. I'm hoping to see him make a 180, kind of like the employee that leaves thinking it was all great, but turns out to be all fluff and people were drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Big Bro.
But he's making the Kool-Aid, guys. Like
Yeah.
this is the main supplier.
He's the main supplier.
Like this is the guy who's like, look, if I give my life to the company's not going to steer me wrong. I read all of the pamphlets, all of these books. This is going to uplift you. This marching band is going to uplift you because this is awesome. How can it not? Look at me go, baby. Don't you want to join? And for any other people, Milkshake would be right. I'd be in there like, yeah, let's go, But in this instance, Mark and Helly, they had a purpose. They had a thing going down. And the funny thing about this, like the dancing part was when he notices Helly stole the thing, right? And he's like, oh, now I gotta hunt you down. But he still kind of wants to dance, right? He still wants to kind of do his choreography, but he can't. Yeah, it was a great scene. Milkshake's, he's great, man. He's great. Look at him go.
Look at him go.
I'm telling you guys, this is my guy right here. Go ahead, Shane.
No, I mean, I covered what I thought about what the scene was
I'm
about.
sorry,
So
I meant D. I meant D. Yeah, we went D already. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay. I went already. Kind of. I said kind of my piece. So I'm looking forward to see more Milkshake and just to kind of pick him apart because he is kind of a complex character.
Yeah.
So we need more Milkshake.
Yes.
He agrees.
Hey, I do not disagree. Like I said, this guy is my favorite character. He's so charismatic. There's so much persona out of him. And, and you're right. For all we know, he could be the biggest villain out of everybody. We just don't know. And so I can't wait to see what happens with this guy and the development of his character. Let's move on. We're almost done, you guys, with the breakdown right here. The elevator flip-flop reunion. Mark and Gemma escape is a roller coaster of any Audi switches. They sprint to the elevator, almost kiss, but it flips them back to Innie, Mark, and Miss Casey. Little awkward. Then at the stairs, she flips to Audi Gemma again, recognizing him as they hug. It's a fleeting reunion, chaotic with red emergency lights flashing in the roof itself, showing how fragile their connection is across Severance itself, guys. And so let me pull up the image right here. So this is exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about the scene with him and Gemma as they also run off into the hallway right there. We're getting close to the very end, guys. I think we kind of covered this a little bit, but it's part of the breakdown right here. What do you guys think of this actual scene with him and Miss Casey? What I like about this actor is, or these actors is, they got to play like different people on the fly really fast, and they got to like turn a light switch on and off, and they do it very well.
I agree. That's why they're really great actors. But yeah, I mean, we kind of went over this, but it's just so sad. So sad. And like when they're in the elevator, like kind of kissing and then get switched and you see them like, kind of doing their whatever shake when they're transferring to someone else. And then they're just kind of looking at themselves like, I'm just like, it just kind of broke my heart when they did that. I was like, no, they were so close, but so far away.
All right. Well, if you think this is repetitious, we can move on. We're literally at the end anyway, so of the breakdown.
Yeah.
So let's just go right there. So, guys, Mark chooses Helly over Gemma. The episode climax flips everything around. Mark picks his Innie life over his Audis. At the exit, Gemma's free, banging on the door, begging him to leave. But Helly appears down the hall, and Innie Mark locks Gemma out, choosing to stay with Helly. They grab hands and run into Lumen's red-lit depths as Windmill of Your Mind plays. It's a selfish, bold move. Any Mark's fighting for his own existence. And basically, that's it right there. That is kind of the end. At the very end, the final shot leaves them hanging in the best way, with Mark and Helly sprinting into the unknown. After locking Jem out, they run in hand-to-hand through Lumen's red halls, alarms blaring, and it freezes on their determined faces. As this is the cliffhanger. It's a statement. They're choosing to fight for their half-lives, but with Gemma outside, Lumen hunting them, and reintegration looming, Season 3 is going to be a crazy, wild ride. So what do we think about this, guys?
Man, if I, dude, so I think they set this up beautifully. I think the whole scene, that end scene when they're running through the hallway, when it's Any Mark and Miss Casey, Any Mark and Miss Casey, and he has to like, hey, you need to go outside, you need to go out, and he's doing his part. He promised that he was going to save Mark's wife. And he did his job, okay? He did his job. And in that moment, he thought to himself, I saved her, but will Mark save me? And he knows he won't, because I put myself as outie Mark. I don't care. I got my wife. I don't care. You're never going to exist again, buddy. Sorry. Sorry, your little like office little fling. I don't care. I got my wife that I thought I lost a long time ago. The joy of my life. I got her back. I win. Now, if I'm Any Mark, you already know outie Mark doesn't care. Heleny? You called my girl Heleny? Oh no. Oh, no. I'm not dealing with it. That's my only apple pie? Hell no. I'm going back to the pie. And the pie called out to me right when I'm making the decision. Hell yeah, I'm gone. All right? I'm gone. Look, and that's the thing. He's staring at Gemma, begging to open the door, and he feels nothing because he doesn't know this lady.
Yeah,
he doesn't know Gemma. That's not who he's like with. And he hears his name from the girl he does care about. Yeah. And as a teenager, you don't care about anything else but the girl.
That's right.
If I can be with her for 10 more seconds, down. We're holding hands and stuff like that, down. Now I will say, this is where I am confused, because I think that is Helena right there. I think that's Helena right there, looking at Gemma.
This is the look. This is the look she gave Gemma.
And this is very important. Mark already ran by. She lingered and looked like, yeah, bitch. I got your man. He's right. He's mine now. Like, she didn't have to linger. She didn't have to do that. She did that.
She could have ran with him.
She should have been out in front leading Mark, but she said, no. I need her to see this. I got you, bitch. So, yeah,
bro.
Like, oh, like, and imagine that, right? Like, the last thing you remember is kissing on your husband, and now you wake up on the outside of the door, and you're like, of course, come on, what are you doing? We got to go home. And she's like, we're going home. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't been home. I haven't been home in so long, and I know it's not the same without me. Like, come on through. And the heartbreak it must have been to watch him just look at you, blank face, no love, no understanding of any of the connection and all that stuff. And that was another thing that outie Mark really messed up on. And he was like, well, my life with her is a lot longer than you got. You only been alive for like a 2 weeks or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, really downplaying it. And that's why Any Mark, that's why he felt the way he felt. He was like, look, your wife's out there, bro, but I'm going to live the rest of this little Any life that you're going to take away from me. If you're going to kill me, I'm going to spend it with Helly. And I don't care if she's Helly or Helen or I don't care. So yeah, it was a really good scene. I know some people were upset about the ending. I thought they played it correctly. I thought they played the hand beautifully, and that was the right choice. And I thought Jimbo was going to die. I definitely did not see her surviving this. So I think it was a great outcome, and it leaves, like you said, it leaves Gemma to become. Can she be the hero? I mean, if I was Lumen, I'd be hunting her the hell down. You know what I mean? Like that is a huge loose end. Who saves her? Because she's still in Lumen's parking lot. Like it's not like she can go anywhere. And for all we know, she's in Lumen's world out there. I mean,
well, she's still in the building, man.
Yeah.
She's still in the building.
So. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know who comes saves her or whatnot, but it leaves. I thought it left enough for us to really want a season 3, and we don't want all the answers now. And ultimately, I think that this show, I think the people that are writing this show, I think they know the ending. And I think the beauty of knowing your ending when you start a story is that you could put all these different threads out there that maybe in season 4 we'll rewatch something in season 1 and it will connect. And I think that's what they're setting this up for like, the rewatches when we rewatch. So, yeah, really good ending for me.
I'm going to jump in before you jump in, Shane, because I really feel like if you jump in right now, I probably won't have anything to say. So, because I know you and your notes, but here's what I loved about this scene, right? Because like, what I loved about this is Mark did exactly what was asked of him. Like you said, Big Bro, he saved Gemma. Not only did he save Gemma, he took on Drummond. He took on the testing floor. He went down there, and then he had to traverse through the severed floor to get Miss Casey out. And I thought Miss Casey was done. I'm like, they got to get from the freaking elevator to like the freaking door. That's a long way to get there, right? They had to draw that stupid map on how to get to the testing floor itself. But so I thought she was a goner. And then when she actually went out and she changed and you heard Helly, at that moment, I'm like, he's done his deed. He's the hero of the hour. And he doesn't want to leave. He's already said that. Remember, I was saying we've established exactly how this episode was going to go from beginning to end, because at the beginning, when he was having his argument with himself, and you can tell from the line he said, this is all we have. And so at that very moment, when he's done the deed he said he was going to do, he saved her. He saved Miss Casey. He saved Gemma. At that moment, it's like, well, everything I said at the beginning of my Audi still stands. This is all we have. I love her. You know what I mean? I love this person right here. And so at that moment, like in a way, I'm like, I'm very happy he chose what he chose, even though this is pretty much a fleeting option. Because where are you going to go? Like, seriously, where are you going to run? You're going to run like what? A minute down the hallway? They're going to find you. Like, unless you find one of them hidden rooms. But there's got to be cameras everywhere, right? So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I totally believe that's Helena and not Helly. I'm still going off of my my thing. That is definitely Helena right there. Go ahead, Shane or D.
Shane can go ahead.
I mean, I don't know really what more that I can add. I think that it ended perfectly. I agree that he did what was asked of him, and I also agree that I don't know where they're running off to. In a lot of ways, we've said this before. They're like teenagers. They're like kids, and they don't have a plan in place. Like, a lot of teenagers, you're like, well, that's it. We're just going to take off running. We're going to figure it out as we go. And, I mean, other than we're just going to live down in the severed floor. And it's funny, we were joking, Dee had joked about, oh, well, you just got to find the stairs. And it didn't even dawn on me. Those are the stairs. Those are the stairs to exit. And that's also a separate, it also cuts you off from the severed area. So there is no, with that said, there's the elevator and there's the stairs, and there is no escape. So you either live down in the severed floor and make a life down there and never come back up, because if he knows that if any Mark ever comes back up, and gets back in the elevator, that's it. He's never coming back down. So how do you live down there? You can't live off the snack machine because Milchek kicked it over. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm at a loss as to figure out what the master plan is. Obviously, the outside master plan is going to be Gemma and the sister and Miss Cobell trying to get back in, and maybe that's yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of, it opens the door to a lot of questions. But one thing I did want to talk about was on the ending shot and kind of this throwback to these 1970s sci-fi movies. And before we got on, I sent over an image to the team of Logan's Run, if anybody in the chat has ever seen it.
Yes.
And just the texture of the film grain as they slowly zoom into them in this freeze frame shot was very, very reminiscent of like there's another film back from that same time period called The Omega Man with Charlton Heston. There's a lot of these kind of 70s sci-fi films. Even Westworld would fit within that. And that this end shot gave me all of those vibes. The grain of the film that they decided to use on it, all of it fit within that. So I'm excited about the possibilities of what season 3 has. I'm in agreement with Brandon. I hope that they have an ending. My true hope is that they have an ending in place and that they stick to that and don't drag it out. Yeah, there it is right there. If it needs to be 4 seasons, it needs to be 4. If it needs to be 5, it needs to be 5, whatever that number is, but don't drag it out longer than it needs to be. It needs to be a complete story to end up being the masterpiece that it already is. I think that there's one other thing that we talked about last episode was this tie-in to that episode of The Twilight Zone where the dolls are able to come to life for 30 days, the mannequins, and then they have to go back to the 9th floor. And maybe there's something to that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe if you're disconnected from the other side for too long, maybe if they try and live downstairs for a week and a week goes by, maybe the severed chip requires that duality to maintain the stability of your mind
persona.
Yeah, because you severed, and so you made that decision. Now you have to live your life back and forth, and now they know that if he's unnecessary downstairs moving forward. So yeah, what does all of that mean? I'm not sure.
So, but remember Dylan, he was let go once, right? And so they pretty much was canned from Lumen at the beginning, and they brought him back.
True.
So
that is true.
Like, how does that work when you're fired?
Yeah.
Because you're basically saying you need that duality to survive, right?
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Yeah. Okay. Then that theory is out the window then. Yeah, because Irving is also on the train and he's gone and he's not.
It's true.
So yeah, you're right.
Are we going to be able to talk about the MVP of this episode, Dylan?
Oh, Dylan is a badass.
That note that he wrote to his innie was the empathy that Mark should have had with his innie. Because ultimately, Dylan gave him a choice. And he was real with him in the best Dylan way. Number one, fuck you. I love that. I love that. Like, and then he broke it down and was like, you know what? I hate to admit it, but my wife saw something in you that I wish that I was. And I really love the fact that that guy exists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like, I really want you to stay, but ultimately it's your choice.
Yeah.
And I just want you to know that I'm hearing you out. Like, that was such, like I said, I think if Mark had that kind of empathy, I think we would have had a different ending.
Yeah.
But it goes to show, how connected are you with your how much empathy do you have for people that aren't going through the same struggle as you are? You know what I mean? Or they're going through a different struggle. Or can you sympathize with their struggle, even though it's not for you? So yeah.
Did you ever see the film As Good as It Gets with Jack Nicholson?
Yes.
There's a line of dialogue in there where he says, "You make me want to be a better man," and it's interesting that writing that he did to his inner self is kind of mirrors that a little bit.
Yeah.
Basically, knowing that you're there makes me want to be better out here. So I need you to exist to help me to continue to try and improve myself and get back to where I was.
You know, I mean, that's a hell of a thing, right? Like, like your wife is cheating on you with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you can't really be that mad because it's you. And then like hearing that it's a happy you, you know what I mean? And you're like, dang, I remember I was happy, and it was cold blooded that he said that while he was looking at his kids. Though that was cold blooded.
Yeah.
Like,
well, Nas writes right here. Do you think that letter was his approval for his wife to see any Dylan?
I don't think so, but I think he knows that that's a possibility. I don't think he's giving the okay. Like he's not like it's all good, homie. Like but he's like, look, I understand. Like it's almost like I understand you want this. You can't have this, but I think you're good for me, and I'm good for you. You know what I mean? Like out, he's basically telling him, like, look, out here, I don't ever feel like I have a purpose, and you seem like you got it going on, dude. Like you may be jealous of me, but I'm kind of jealous of you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I think that's the difference between him and the other people that have innies, where they don't, like, the Audis do not care about the innies at all. Like Helena does not care. Like you are not a person. And in a similar way, Mark did the same thing to his innie. So I thought that was really awesome. And then of course, the whole scene where he gets the letter and Milkshake just darts out the room. Like,
you can hear him.
Like, as soon as he dropped that paper, that was hilarious. Man.
That was
and
good.
Then,
that was too good.
And then him coming in, saving the day, kicking the machine to block in Milkshake. Him. It was for me. It was a great Dylan episode, even though he had a small part. It was a good Dylan episode.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that comparison, because technically, I mean, Dylan didn't have a conversation with his Audi, but at least his Audi was able to portray, some good like a good message to him. Like, I like you. I think you do great. And I kind of wish I was you. Versus like you have Audi Mark saying, this is my wife. Just help me. I mean, your existence doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? So it's like,
I think it's like this thing you were saying, like the older brother and younger brother thing, but this was kind of like a friend to a friend. Like, look, bro, like,
well, he's talking to himself. Like, literally, he's like, you know what? You are me, and I'm going to talk to you like I'm talking to my other half. Versus
and that's
like
why
Mark
I think
talking to his younger brother.
That's why I think that's why number one, it broke that ice. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is you. Fuck you. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
this is me talking to me.
Yeah, and when you're good people, like you're good friends, like people you rib like that. You know what I mean? Like, screw this guy. You know what I mean? He knows I love him. But like you said, I thought that was really, really good. Really, really good.
You know who Dylan reminds me of? Like, he's that guy that you can count on. He's that guy, like, for the most part, will be there, right? He reminds me of you, man. So, let's go.
That's my guy. I fucking love Dylan.
Anything else you guys want to discuss before we get to the speculation part of the stream?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about the ending.
Go for it.
Yeah, so to touch on what you guys were talking about, just that picture of Gemma, on the outside, she's seeing her husband, and he's like, like, why isn't he coming home with me? That's got to be like really gut wrenching. And this picture right here that you have, Hinano, it's like Mark, but you got to focus on the red looming thing behind him, which is Helly/Helena.
The name says it itself.
Yep. And when they were together, talking about, like where's a place you would want to kind of go, she said stop it talking. She started. She mentioned, the equator, and the equator is the middle that breaks one half of the world, right? And she said, I'll meet you at the equator. And the equator happens to be the severed floor where they meet up. Yeah.
Gosh, D, you're on it.
But I feel so sorry for Gemma.
You just broke my brain.
And like, for Gemma, I get it that she's in that moment now where like she got her husband back, but he's not coming with her. So I'm like, why the hell is she sticking around? But you would stick around, right, if your other half was over there. So she's gonna get caught, man, and get put back, unless right now there's no security because they're trying to deal with whatever bullshit is happening inside. So that's where all the security people are, and dealing with Drummond, who is now gone. So, and he's like head honcho. So maybe there are no real, like, a lot of security guards outside. So maybe Gemma has a chance to escape. And in a perfect world, her sister-in-law and Miss Cobell will be right outside waiting to take her, save her. They're going to reconvene and come back and save Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I guarantee you, he wasn't saying anything until she started talking. Go ahead, Shane.
No, I feel like Dee covered it all. I agree. There's a lot going on there. I think we saw the same recap with the red line of the equator, kind of symbolizing that red space that she's in. I think my hope is that next season we'll get some more answers as to how the transfer of Gemma to the severed floor transpired. Did she go willingly? Did they come to her and say, hey, we have a way to give you a baby, but you have to come with us? And she was willing to do anything at that point. Or was she just taken? So I think we'll find that out. And that will impact, how she moves forward, because she's going to have a lot. Now, she has a lot to digest and deal with as far as what just transpired in this, this hallway. Because I don't think she understands in this moment, because of all the adrenaline and what's happening, that there's any version of, and I don't know that she understands the concept of any and outie. I mean, she understands that there's different aspects of her that go into these rooms and something happens and she doesn't know what happens. But I don't know, she doesn't have a group of cube mates to be able to bounce ideas off of and come up with the concept of innie and outie, because she's kept in this isolated area. So we're a little unclear as to what her perception is of what is going on with her.
Well, let's break down the speculation right here, guys. So what I've done, and this is normally what I do in every single episode, is I take all the data and basically from season 2, episode 1, all the way until the season finale, and I compile it into the AI, and I have it spit out 5 speculation points that it thinks may happen in season 3 of Severance. So why don't we go through the 5 right here? As soon as I got Filipinos next door. Excuse me, guys. They're revving their engines right now. It says right here, Mark and Helly's rebellion on the severed floor could be a speculation. So in season 2 finale, Cold Harbor, any Mark makes the gut-wrenching choice to stay on the severed floor with Helly rather than exit with Gemma, effectively choosing his any identity and love for Helly over his outie life. The final moments show them running hand in hand down the corridors as alarms blare, suggesting they're now fugitives within Lumen. Season 3 could see Mark and Helly leading a full-scale rebellion among the Innies, possibly with support from unexpected allies like the Severed Marching Band or Dylan. We haven't forgotten about Dylan. Throughout Season 2, we've seen the Innies grow increasingly aware of their exploitation. Dylan's resignation attempt is one of them. Helly's defiance of James Egan and Mark's completion of Cold Harbor File all point to a breaking point. The marching band's restraint of Milchek in the finale hints at a broader Innie uprising in the making, and Mark and Helly's decision to stay could ignite this into a structured resistance against Lumen's control. So they might attempt, this is what the AI thinks may happen. So this is what the AI thinks is happening. They might attempt to sabotage the Severance technology or free other Innies, but their lack of a clear plan, as noted in the finale, suggests chaos could ensue. Milchek's wavering loyalty, seen in his previous episode, might make him a wild card. Will he join them or double down on Lumen's side? So here's the question I have for you guys. How will Mark and Helly sustain their rebellion without access to the outside world? And can they trust any potential allies within the building? Big Bro.
I think they got the sheep people on lock. That's for sure. I think Mark built some cred with Emil. You know what I mean? He can call that card. I think that it has to be where we're going with Mark and Helly, is kind of like leading a revolt, telling all the Innies, like, look, even our Audis want to kill us. You know what I mean? Like, no one wants to save us. And so we might actually even get a point where we're dealing with Innie versus Audi war, where, you know, like, we're dealing with Cobell and the sister-in-law and Gemma trying to free Mark, but we're falling more in love with Innie Mark, and we don't want them to win because that means all the Innies die. So all while still trying to run away from Lumen and what they're trying to do. Do I think they can get lost in that building? Maybe. I don't know how many different contingencies they have when it comes to leadership. I think Drummond's dead. You still have the doctor and the doctor's assistant in there, and you still have Milchek. But other than that, not too many characters that we know. But I mean, there's more than what we know also, because I mean, James is in there. James Egan's in there, you know, with his own separate room and stuff like that. So it could be anything, man. That's why it's good. I'm excited for season 3.
So, like, the severed floor, it's got to be under the building. It's definitely not above the building, right? So we don't really know how big the severed floor is, and we know they can only stay within the severed floor to stay within their personas of their Innies, right? They move anywhere else, we don't know if they turn back into their Audi or something else. So
I think they mentioned the chip only works on that floor.
Okay.
For their chip. So I guess depending on the chip is depending on the floor that you get, you know, you become severed.
And basically what I'm trying to say is they are constrained to that floor only in order to, like, you know, move the narrative that they want. You know, that's the only way that they can actually think for themselves, is they got to stay within that parameter, which is that floor, unless they go somewhere else, like the Ramona Birthing Center, right? So it's like, we really don't know how big that floor is. We know there's hidden rooms. We had Drummond come out of it. So, like, you know, and like I said, the AI is just getting the information that it's seeing on the internet. You know what I mean? We really don't know what's going on. I still think there's more to Helly in this, but what do you think, Shane?
Well, there's a couple of possibilities. Number one possibility is when they do the implant we've only seen it really as a close up of the side shot of Helly as she was, kind of on the side. So does that happen down where Gemma was? If so, could the doctor still running around there was assistant? Could part of the rebellion be, you know, we want you to essentially turn it on to us and then remove it, and then we only exist. So there's that possibility. I think the other possibility is, as with any good storytelling, I think we've talked about this before, where if you show a handgun in, the first act of a film, you better use it by the third act. And one of the handgun is the overtime contingency.
Aha.
Is there a way to activate that just permanently? And
Yeah.
then the innies just live. So then they could essentially leave and be on the run. And then they destroy all of the equipment after they turn it on.
Yeah.
There's that possibility. So I think there's some things that the groundwork has already been laid for some options for them to escape. And then, then they're on the run. But Naz put an interesting comment in there that we still haven't really addressed the resistance that Irving has been communicating with. What does that resistance look like? And how many people are part of that resistance? And obviously we know that town that Cobell went back to,
Salt's Neck.
Salt's Neck. None of those people are fans of Lumen. So there could be a combination of an uprising on the outside as well as an uprising on the inside that could culminate in, some sort of a giant climax for the end of the series.
I'm with you on this. In fact, I was thinking the same lines of like that overtime contingency is like the ace in the hole for them. Like if I were them, I would want that on 24/7 all the time. That's how we can escape. Initiate the overtime contingency, destroy it, right? And you can destroy Kier, right? That building, and they could always go to another one, right, and reintegrate them back into the severed whatever. But I'm with you on that one. I feel like that's where we're gonna go. Maybe not in season 3, maybe in 4, because I remember throughout like the few episodes we were discussing on like, this is going to be like season 3 is going to be the outie world, right? We got to see a little bit of it with Salt's Neck. We got to see a little bit more of the town. We got to see the restaurant, right? But we still don't know what the hell's going on in the outside world. Mm-hmm. And now I feel like we're still not going to get the outside world in season 3 because we're still in the building. We're still in the building. They never got out of the building. So they got to get out of the building. I think the overtime contingency is the right way to get out of the building. But I don't think they get out of the building in season 3. I think maybe season 3 is the escape out of the building. And then maybe season 4, we're outside the world because they still got to do world building outside. They mentioned the equator and like, couple states, right? That's the first time I've ever heard any mention of the outside world and anything outside that we're aware of other than, Salt's Neck and Kier. We have no idea what that is, right? Yeah. So yeah, I'm in the same agreement with you on that one. Big Bro. Or did you go already?
I went already, I think. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Before D goes, because I know she didn't go yet, Nas did say, I have a speculation that season 3 might not even start where it left off. I think we might see season 3 as a time skip, and as the season progresses, we get fillers. Does the overtime contingency affect Mark with him being reintegrated? Is what I'm curious. That's a good point, Mark. That's a very good point right there. But I do like what he says right here with the time skip. That would really help with the world building because then now we can learn about the outside world through a time skip, right? Kind of like what they did with Lost.
Yeah.
Go ahead, D.
Yeah, man, I have no idea. So when they did the overtime contingency the first time, what happened to the instructions?
Instructions?
Yeah, wasn't there instructions on how Dylan was supposed to do it? Wasn't there like papers he was following?
It was just turning the lever, I think.
Okay, yeah, there was like a process. Okay. Okay, that doesn't help me in my case then.
Okay.
So I was like, they lost the manual for that. Now they got to actually use Cobell's logs with the actual contingency thing to be able to do that. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to think on that one. But I think they're gonna be building a lot more within what they could possibly do while they're inside. Another thing that would be really cool is when they start off the season 3 and they're like in Delaware. I don't know. That'll be kind of cool, that aspect.
Do you get our daughter to watch him for just like 10 minutes? She's just playing video games. All right. Okay. Well, let's move on, guys, while Dee figures that out. Okay. So speculation number 2 right here. So Gemma's role in exposing Lumen from the outside. So here's the speculation, guys. Gemma's escape in the finale, banging on the door as Mark runs off with Helly, positions her as a key player outside of Lumen. Having endured 25 distinct innies, each tied to a traumatic test like the crib disassembly in the previous episode, she's a living testament to Lumen's atrocities. Season 3 could see Gemma with Devin and Cobell mounting an external campaign to expose Lumen, leveraging her fragmented memories and the Cold Harbor evidence. Season 2 showed her resilience and her emotional tether to Mark, which might drive her to fight for his freedom despite his choice to stay behind. Gemma being captive in the testing floor with tests designed to strip her of emotional pain, the finale confirms her rescue was tied to Mark's refinement work, suggesting her innies were a proof of concept for Lumen's grander scheme, possibly mass market severancing. Devin's growing suspicion of Lumen and Cobell's insider knowledge could arm Gemma with the tools to go public. The absence of a strong anti-Lumen movement in season 2 leaves room for this to expand. So this is what the AI thinks is going to happen. Gemma might struggle with her 25 innies psychological fallout, making her an unreliable but compelling whistleblower. Her reunion with Outie Mark could be complicated by his innie actions, creating a personal stake-driven narrative alongside the broader expose. Now, the AI asked this question. You don't have to answer. You guys can pretty much answer whatever you want, but it's asking, will Gemma's fragmented consciousness hinder or enhance her ability to bring Lumen down? And how will she reconcile Mark's abandonment of her?
Good question.
I mean, my gut tells me that the abandonment, I don't think is going to be as big of an issue as we think it is currently, only because I think that she's going to reconnect with Cobell and with the sister, Devin, right? And the sister is going to explain the situation, and so that should be easy to clear up, I think. But as far as the fragmentation of her and who she is, maybe that's where Cobell comes in and has to basically, put her back together from what the doctor did downstairs. So there might be some rehabilitation that has to happen over a period of time to, make her whole again. The doctor made a comment, that you're going to kill them. And I don't think he meant kill all the innies. I think what he meant was kill all of those other 24 personalities, the ones that he sort of became obsessed with. So maybe they go away, as part of this. She has to do a reintegration outside with Cobell. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe there's a period of time where Cobell and Devin are working out their plan, how they're going to get back into Lumen. And part of that is, making Gemma whole again, and learning, how this whole transpired, why she went with them or if she was kidnapped by them. Hopefully we'll have a lot of answers for that. Yeah, that's kind of where my head is at.
I feel you on that. And I feel like these 25 different personalities is going to play a big role for Gemma in season 3. I predict that she gets rescued and something happens to where she's with Cobell and Devin, but I really feel like she's fractured. Like, she's not a whole person anymore. And we're going to see that. We're going to see her degrade as well. And maybe there's more than meets the eye that Cold Harbor was completed. Maybe having that final completion did something to her chip. I don't know. But I think she's going to be a very fractured person in the next season. And I'm looking forward to see how that actress is going to play that out.
Did I can't remember. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Did I bring up this book series called Legion before?
No.
Okay.
But he did?
So did I? Okay.
I
Well,
think it did, yeah.
yeah, because
Okay.
I started reading this book series a couple of years ago, and it's a character called Legion, and I think there's 3 or 4 books now about it. It's an interesting character in that he has multiple personalities inside of his head, and they convene almost like in a library inside of his head, and it's an interesting concept for a character because essentially all of these different characters have different special abilities. And so, like, if he's in a tough situation, he'll pull on one of his other personalities that's a master safecracker and, like, be able to get out of this trap that they're in, right? And I'm, like, thinking to myself, I wonder if they could do that with Gemma, like, turn things on and off. Like, she's this being able to endure this pain that she had to endure during the dental procedure. Like, does that allow her to endure, like, if she could turn on that personality and allow her to endure whatever they're going to put her through, and then if she's all these different types of things that she was enduring, would they be able to be useful? I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing that one. That's kind of out there a little bit.
D?
Yeah, I feel like Cobell, if Gemma teams up with Cobell to go back and save Mark, I think that Cobell has the answer in her book because she essentially wrote the whole program, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who's to say she doesn't have the code for like a complete restart?
Yeah.
And just take away all of the 24,
Yeah.
25 personalities and yeah, like a full reboot, restart. And then in that way, she can help Gemma go back and save Mark, and possibly do the same for other people who want to be saved. Why she would do that? She probably has an ulterior motive to help herself. Yeah, I don't know.
I think she's got a bargaining chip now. She's got Gemma. They haven't finished their Cold Harbor experiments. Who says that they can? Who says later on they won't recommence, right? She never finished. She is still like one of the worthy vessels for it, right? So who's to say later on Cobell just doesn't do the, okay, you know what? I have exactly who you needed. Cold Harbor's done. I want my old job back. You know what I mean? And she comes with Gemma strolling right through the door. She tricks Gemma saying that, don't worry, we are going to get Mark back. We're going to walk right through those doors. But in reality, she's a bargaining chip. And maybe throughout the whole season, like, there's a master plan to get Mark out. Maybe season 3 is we got to rescue Mark now because he's stuck in there. Right. And they try to do all that. And at the very end, it's the old switcheroo. We got Gemma. She actually does die in season 3. And lo and behold, the actual plan happens. That could happen. And then my guy Milchek comes in and totally tries to help save the day in season 4.
That's it, with a band.
With a band.
With the band.
Put the band back together.
Telling you, man. Milchek is gonna surprise you.
I hope so, man. I thought he was gonna do it this episode, man. When he was getting talking down to, I'm like, come on, buddy, you got this. And he's like, no.
It's too soon. It's too soon. It's only season 2. We got to wait a little bit. He's got to go through a little bit more trials and tribulations, I think. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go down to the third speculation right here. So it says Lumen pivots to a new experiment after Cold Harbor's failure. Here's a speculation. The Cold Harbor Project, Gemma's 25th INI test, was meant to perfect Severance by eliminating emotional pain, but Mark's sabotage and Drummond's death derailed it all. Season 3 might see Lumen shift to a new, even darker experiment. possibly targeting Mark and Helly directly since they've disrupted the plan and they're still in the building. James Egan's admiration for Helly and his cryptic revolving comment suggests he might see her as a potential successor or a test subject, while Mark's unique connection to Gemma's refinement could make him indispensable. The goals, so here's what the AI thinks is going to happen. Lumen could attempt to sever emotions entirely, using Helly's defiance or Mark's love as a variable, or even resurrect Kier, a fan theory that I guess is kind of going out there. The marching band and other departments might become test beds, escalating the stakes beyond the severed floor. So here's the question the AI has for you guys. What new horrors will Lumen unleash to replace Cold Harbor? And will James Egan favor toward Helly protect or endanger her?
There's all sorts of things that can happen. I think we still don't know who the other person that was across the hall from Gemma was.
Yeah.
There's still other people down there, and like we know, Lumen's worldwide. How many other of these experiments are happening? And I mean, it could be like there's 10 Cold Harbors, and this is the first of the one, and there could be lots of different backups out there. We know that Lumen has its claws in deep in their relationship from the beginning, from them doing the blood test at the school. At the school, and then them adopting an adoption center and all the different things. Lumen is always there. So, it's going to be interesting to see how far it goes. Like, how deep does the rabbit hole go with Lumen?
Yeah, they also did show like there's other different, how they're doing this data
macro data refinement.
Yeah, so they did show like other rooms, other names, and I think those were like the failed ones. So I don't know, maybe they'll go back and try now to like perfect, I don't know, those failed rooms. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. There's just like so many things. I don't know. My mind is just like fried. What about you, Shane?
Yeah, this was a tough question because it kind of opens it up to a lot of different interpretations and possibilities. I don't know necessarily that.
Well, you can answer it however you want. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we're just trying to figure out, is the AI spot on?
I personally on this one I don't think so, only because
Okay.
I don't see I don't see them going back and refining what the severance process is. I see this more about they've got a problem now and they've got to fix it, and I don't know that they're going to track these people down and deal with them. I don't know that has anything to do with a new version of Severance. This is more about you got a rogue employee that you need to fire, essentially. So I don't know necessarily that it's that's where I'm a little confused by what they're asking. But
so just so you guys have an understanding how we get to these speculation points, is it literally scours the internet. Like, you guys don't see what I'm looking at, but it's got breakdowns of where it got all this information from. Variety to IMDb to, like, there's like YouTube names on here. So it grabs a bunch of data to try to come up with the best speculation. This is all speculation that it's getting from the data that's out on the internet, as well as all the information it got from the entire season.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so that's how it comes up with these speculations. Whether it's right or not is another question, right? So, but what do you think, Big Bro?
My bad.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Essentially, so what's happening here is, in this latest speculation, the AI thinks that Lumen may try a different experiment over Cold Harbor, And the question was, what do you think other horrors could be unleashed by Lumen? And do you think James Egan favors Helly over his daughter, and will he protect her? That was the question it asked, but it's getting these questions off of the speculation, right?
Yeah, he definitely prefers Helly. Like that's for sure. Like he sees the fire of Kier. He wants to feel that fire. He's like, yeah, this is the half of the daughter. This is what I want. This is the person that got lost in translation somehow as a child, that became this obedient thing that I don't want, you know?
Yeah.
And we have to remember, like he said, he sired a bunch of different kids. He sired a bunch of them, and they're out there, and we don't know who he sired with.
I love that.
I mean,
sired. You can literally use that word for everything now. Like, yeah,
no, that's
what you do last. I sired last night.
Yeah, that's what they said. And the sick part is they said Gemma was sired a lot too. You know what I mean? Like they were going to use her. So I mean, if she has some Egan babies out there, that the plot thickens in the love square that is happening in Severance right now.
So essentially, sired could mean baby farms.
No, that's exactly what rich people. That's what they mean. The sired, yeah. That's what they do. Yeah, everybody's a horse at that point. Yeah, you're sired. We sired these people together. I think there's all sorts of crazy things. We can see all sorts of different fears, all sorts of different things that put people through. I ultimately still think this all has to do like creating the ultimate soldier. The ultimate soldier that will never have PTSD because it doesn't remember what it did. We can go send it to do just completely nefarious, evil things, and they can come back with zero cares. You know what I mean? They never knew.
I'm with you on that, but I don't think it's a soldier. I think they want to control the world, and what better way to do that than remove the pain and bring back pain whenever you want by controlling that inhibitor.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? I really think that's what this all is they just want to control everyone. And how better way to do that than to sever certain portions of you out of you to make you docile.
That's a good point. Yeah. I think so too.
All right. Well, let's look at the last two speculations. Like I said, everyone, I fed this into AI. It's literally got a bunch of data points that it draws from Variety, from The Tonight Show. I see a bunch of YouTubers here. So let's see what this fourth one is. It's called Cobell and Milchick's Diverging Paths. Here's a speculation. Harmony Cobell and Seth Milchick, Lumen's enforcers, show cracks in their loyalty by the finale. Cobell aids Mark's rescue, driven by her uncredited invention of Severance, while Milchick mirrors stares after being subdued, suggests disillusionment. Season 3 could see them on opposing sides. Cobell working with the outside resistance, and Milchick either doubling down on Lumen or flipping to aid the Innies. Their arcs in Season 2 build to this potential schism, with Cobell's personal vendetta and Milchick's pride at odds with Lumen's cold machinery, upper management. So here's what the AI thinks is going to happen. Cobell might leak Severance's origins, while Milchick could lead a crackdown on the Innies or defect. Torn between duty and self-preservation, their choices could determine Lumen's fate. Now, you don't have to answer this question, but this is what the AI is asking. Will Cobell and Milchick's personal grievance align them with the Innies, Outies, or each other? And how will this reshape Lumen's hierarchy? Now, honestly, you don't have to answer that, but this is what the AI is speculating with Cobell and Milchick.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or just what do you guys think of that speculation?
I mean, my gut tells me there's going to be more of a showdown between the two of them than any kind of an alliance.
Yeah.
What about you, big bro?
Yeah, I think it comes to head. I think it's going to be new boss versus old boss, and then I think it's going to lead to the switch that we think is going to happen. I think Cobell is going to be like our like inside person. She's going to be doing good, and then at the end, we're going to know her true intentions is, you know, to finish her experiment, finish publicizing her baby. So that's what I think. I don't see them working back together anymore.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. I don't think they'll ever work together. Um, unless it's for like the same purpose to keep the idiots under control, which I don't think we're leading to. But yeah, I don't think they'll ever work together because they're too competitive and trying to be the boss. So yeah.
And I think what the AI is trying to get at is it sees that these two authoritarian characters are now shifting. We don't know what the shift's going to be. We kind of see Cobell already, where we feel like there's a good shift of alliance. But I kind of feel like my speculation is where I'm going to lead. Is I really feel like that Cobell will be like she will be like an ally in season 3 until she dumps on everyone. I think that's what's going to happen, at least for me anyway. Will they diverge and be together? No, I don't think so. But I really think that Cobell will. I'm not Cobell. I think Milchek will definitely come out on top. But we're gonna break. We're gonna end this pretty soon, guys. We have the final. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Does anybody want to say anything before we go ahead? I think we'll just skip to the last speculation here. All right. Okay. So number 5, Irving and Dylan's return to the fight. Irving and Dylan, absent or sidelined in the finale, could return in season 3 with renewed purpose. Irving Train's departure and Dylan's resignation rejection leave them in limbo, but their season 2 arcs, Irving loves for Bert, Dylan's outies family ties suggest they'll be drawn back into the fold. Irving might rally an anti-Lumen faction outside, while Dylan could join Mark and Helly's rebellion inside, leveraging his MDR knowledge and newfound resolve. So here's what the AI thinks might happen with Dylan and Irving. Irving could link up with Gemma's group, using his list to mobilize severed workers, while Dylan might orchestrate an any takeover, perhaps with a marching band. Their absence from the finale climax leaves their stories ripe for expansion. What do you think is going to happen with this, guys? Do you think the AI is right? I'm not even going to ask the question because I think it's silly. Go ahead.
No, I think this is kind of what we talked about, where there's going to be an outside uprising and an inside uprising, and I actually agree that Irving and whatever his group is could help come to their rescue, and the inside uprising is going to, whether it includes the band and all the members of the GOAT team, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what they do. There's not a lot of options available to them as far as you just run around in the hallways yelling about stuff. I don't know what I don't know what it looks like. But, yeah.
Big Bro.
Yeah, I definitely think we left a lot of stuff with Irving and I forgot Christopher Walken's character's name.
Bert.
Bert.
Yeah.
Bert and Irving. That's
Bert and Irving.
Like Bert and Ernie. That's pretty fun. Anyway,
I think you're close to something. By the way,
I think so too. Sesame Street is a very prevalent character in a lot of different shows. A lot of head nods to them. I think we do have a good chance of the different revolutions, as it were, for each different reason, and I think those revolutions are ultimately working against each other. I think Irvin's revolution of the resistance and shutting down the program is in exact opposite order of Dylan's resistance of, keeping the Indies alive and trying to figure out a different way of trying to find a happy medium between the two. Because I think that was the big thing that we learned in this episode, is that the Indies aren't going to go down without a fight. Like, they want to live too, just as much as the Audis. And just because you've had the body longer doesn't mean our fight isn't as strong, So, I think it's going to lead to some muddy waters next season of what's right, who are we rooting for, Innie or Audi, or it's very interesting.
D, close it out.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see a lot of different alliances, and maybe some will partner up with each other, like people that we're not expecting to come together and work together. Who I have no idea. But I think that's kind of what makes it interesting, where they switch things up on us, like giving us things we weren't really expecting from like certain characters. But yeah, I think there's gonna be like a revolution inside and outside, and because everyone wants to live, right? Because your innie wants to live, they don't care about the Audi. Your Audi wants to live, they don't care about the innie. So it's just a matter of who will come up on top, and what will they be willing to do to be able to be the one left standing between Audi and innie.
Okay, so real quick, Nas has a speculation, and then we'll have our final goodbyes, guys, because it's gotten late for us over here. He says the third speculation sounds like a better story for Mark's. I feel like Mark as a main protagonist is kind of drawn out now, and I can see Milchek and Cobell's differences and character development can drive the ending of Severance. He said, I'm sorry, the fourth. So what he means by the fourth speculation, Covell and Milchek's diverging paths. So he thinks that maybe there are going to have some divergence in between the two right there. So I guess we're going to have to find out next year, guys, because the season 2 finale is done. We're going to have to wait and see what's happening. Guys, this has been a pleasure doing this with you guys. And I just got to give you this right here. This is what I feel like this has been so far, hanging out with my friends right here. My guy right here. Guys, thank you so much for participating in this. I know we've been talking about maybe continuing this on. I am game. You tell me if you guys want to continue and do something else. Just tell me when you want to do it, and we will revisit the severed floor right here. But this has been fun with you guys. Guys, like I said, we just decided to do this as friends. We were doing this in the DMs, and we're like, well, we got a YouTube channel. Let's just put it up there and let's just try it out right here. And we got Nas saying, this was so fun. Thank you guys for doing this for us. Thank you for kicking back, as well as the 90 people watching in the back. We really appreciate you guys. Keys over here as well. My friends, final words. Go ahead, D.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure getting to talk about a show that we're all really into and just kind of pick apart each other's brains. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I hope you continue it. If not, another show. We'll have to reconvene a year later. Maybe I'll get severed, so I don't have to think about how long it'll be.
That's what we need.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's I know it gets kind of late for you guys, so I really appreciate you both coming on and taking the time. Yes, it's pop to the music, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun doing this with you guys, so I'm looking forward to doing more of that. Is he glitching? Oh, he's glitching. Okay, interesting, Okay, Shane, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, this has been an absolute pleasure. I love chatting with you guys about this. Yeah, it's sad that we'll have to wait at least a year, or if not more, for another season. Yeah, we'll continue this discussion to see where we pick up with this, if we want to do another show or what it looks like. But yeah, we're always chatting in the background, so we'll figure something out.
Big bro.
I had lots of merriment with this show, guys. You know what I mean? Get it out there. Yeah, I love talking shop with you guys. Really good insights. I tried my best to not say anything in the DMs this entire week, but I really wanted to talk to you guys about this. So it was really, really cool. Yeah, up for another show. We're throwing a couple of names out right now, and we'll see what sticks. I do know Last of Us is coming up, and I think we're all. Oh, never mind.
No. The comment. The comment.
Okay.
Comment. No, Nas. No.
Why? You don't want to like look at the CGI dwarves? Huh? No.
Amongst other things.
Yeah. But yeah, so there might be some other shows that we all might get into and stuff like that. So very excited for that. And yeah, thank you guys for sharing this experience with me. It was really cool, man.
Yeah, no, this has been a lot of fun. Like I was telling D, this is like I love doing all of our shows, but when it's a show where, I don't have to like do a lot of production, I can just shoot the shit with my friends. Like I really enjoy this. You know what I mean? Like it's not that hard. Like I literally just, type up some breakdowns. I go and feed data to the AI for the speculations, and then we go to town and we show some images and we just talk about our fandom. And I really enjoy this. And I think we even talked about the name, right? We were going to think about changing the name, but I think we're just going to leave it the Severed Floor. And that's our review group right here, is the Severed Floor, and we'll talk about it with everyone here. We all got lives. And, I'm sure maybe there'll be another show where it'll bring us back out of the hibernation phase. But we'll be in the DMs to discuss that, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We never thought anybody would watch this. Like I said, we had a YouTube channel. We wanted to like hang out with our friends, and it's a rarity we get VideoShane out this late. So you know what?
Let's go.
This has been a pleasure, and we will be back when we're back, guys. Thank you so much, Shane. It's been a pleasure. Go get some sleep, my friend.
Thank you.
We will be talking the DMs, Big Bro and D. Take care, guys. Until
Home
the next
advantage,
time,
baby. Let's go.
That's right, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.